acceleration is going from one speed to another. And so acceleration is always a change of two speeds. It's not a speed itself, it's a change of speed. And so it takes a huge amount of force. And so let's think about a lift. There's a point in the lift, and he knows where it is, that he needs the most force.
Good.
Because it's a place where he runs out of force.
Sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. What's up, guys? We are back with another episode of Table Talk. Today's my guest is JM Blakley. He's back again. I didn't look earlier to see how many times he's been out, but there's several times that he's been out, so I'm going to thank you for coming out. You were part of one of the first 3 podcast I think that we did to go back that far.
Wow.
And always a popular guest because how deep you will go into a lot of the topics. So what I want to start with is what we were talking about off camera, I suppose is what you would call it, off mic before. And that is what did you have, because you did some extra content with us when you came out this morning. So what did you have the guys do today?
Well, the first thing that I did was with Bo, that I brought him out here, and we explored the idea of creating a way of training that maximizes the stimulus for muscle growth, and the kind of growth I'm talking about is actual muscle growth, not swelling the muscle up with glycogen and water and things, and capillaries and stuff. And that does grow a muscle and makes it bigger, but actual meat, actual contractile elements, actin, myosin, titin, trophin, the things that do the lifting, right? What stimulates that? And there's one mother of all things that stimulate that, and that's mechanical tension. Mechanical tension is the end-all be-all of creating new protein synthesis within the muscle. So if that is the ultimate goal of a stimulation, of a workout, then we have to keep that. Marshall Lee from Great Britain always tells me, we have to keep the goal the goal. The goal is to keep the goal the goal and not be distracted and not go off into other things that might be shiny and bright and fun and sexy and all that. We have to keep the goal the goal. And so the goal should be, if we really want to activate and get new muscle contractile elements and myofibrils, that we should produce a lot of mechanical tension. And that's why all these weights are in here. Mm-hmm. You know, there's more and more and more weight, because that's the easiest way to put more mechanical tension on a muscle. But there are other ways, and we explored that. But in relation to mechanical tension, in relation to recovery burden. So how can I get high mechanical tension and high stimulus for growth and low recovery burden? Because if you keep adding weight and adding weight and adding weight, yes, you absolutely get more mechanical tension. However, you also get a greater and greater and greater recovery burden. You know that if you're bench pressing 300 pounds, it's easier to recover from that than if you're benching 400 or 500 pounds on the same program, same sets, same reps, same everything. It's simply harder to. I'm sorry, I was banging the table. You told me not to do that.
No, you're fine.
I apologize.
No,
So
that's fine.
That was the whole thing, Dave. It was what we explored was just with the simple hinge joint bicep movement. How can we create lots and lots of stimulus? And what kind of stimulus? Mechanical tension stimulus with less recovery burden. How can we get away with that? And we explored a training method of doing that.
So what was different than what he was otherwise doing before?
All we did today, there's many ways to do it. All we did today was we did a bicep curl, and in the middle of it, we started at the halfway point, but you can do it at any point, and we did some of those at the end. He was doing a bicep curl, and he got to the middle, and he met me pushing the other way, and we did a isometric. And isometric contractions are higher tension than concentric contractions or eccentric contractions. They are the highest amount of tension, and if we follow the way and we keep the goal, we want mechanical tension. So this is a way that, and so that's what we did. He would come to the midway point in his repetition. He would meet me for 2 seconds, he would keep trying to lift the weight, but I wouldn't allow it. The harder he pushed, the harder I pushed. It didn't go anywhere. Maximal, the highest tension he can produce in the middle of a rep. And then he would finish the rep after 2 seconds. And on the way down, I would tell him to stop, and I would push on it, and he wouldn't let it go. Again, another isometric, maximal tension, mechanical tension, the goal that we want. And then I would stop, and then I would stop pushing on him, and he would finish the rep.
So what's the tempo control after you let go?
Normal training speed. We didn't do anything like that. This is the simplest way. This is the entry level stuff.
Yeah, I get that. But if he's putting his maximum tension in there, and then you take that isometric away
smoothly.
Yeah, smoothly. You say, okay.
And he continues the rep.
All right.
So there's no jolt and a jerk, and he doesn't come up. He's just doing a rep, and he meets me, and I push, and he pulls, and then he finishes the rep. And he comes to here, and I push, and he pulls, and he finishes the rep. And so we get 2 points in a training rep of concentric eccentric cycle that are isometric maximal tension. What this allows me to do then is create this high stimulus for real, actual meat, muscle stuff, protein synthesis with much, much less weight. He has a modest training weight on there. It's heavy enough that he has to work, but it's not as heavy as the tension he gets with maximal.
Yes.
Because so this is a way to incorporate a little extra tension and a little extra stimulus into every rep you do. So every rep, if you're training normally, you only get that maximal tension when you fail. So you're on rep number 6, you try number 7, and you can't move it, and you get one brief moment where you're doing a maximal contraction and it's not going anywhere. And isometric, you're trying and it's not, and you're too tired or you're too. There's different reasons for failure.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You get one of those stimulus in a set of reps. Here, he gets 2 of those in every rep that he does.
Yes.
And he has much less weight on the bar. So one of the things that, and so we're talking about recovery burden. We're talking about wear and tear. Mm-hmm. We're talking about joint stress, tendon stress. So when you're training with weights and you have this eccentric to concentric reversal, a lot of times you're letting the weight down, and that's not hard. You're just giving in with gravity, and that weight is moving. And an object in motion wants to stay in motion, and it's going that way, and then you're going to go this way. And at the bottom of that reversal can be quite violent sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of wear and tear. Well, this way, he's lowering the weight with control, and that's not where all that is happening. What's happening is nice and smooth, nice and sort of, I hate to say the word gentle, mm-hmm. but it's not, he doesn't come up and impact, and he doesn't have that weight rolling down that he has to, reverse and get that impact force on the tendons and stuff. So this is the entry level stuff. There's many better ways to do, or not better, but
different.
There are levels of doing this and creating ways to get high tension with less and less and less joint stress, wear and tear, recovery burden. But it's about recovery burden. Now, for me as an arthritic guy, it's about joint stress.
Yeah.
But for growth, for a young guy, it's about recovery and not so much joint stress. Their joints are tough and right.
Yeah, but I could say accumulated joint stress.
That's right. That's right.
Because the things that you're talking about, I would define as intensification principles.
Exactly.
Right? It could be that. There's many others, right?
There are.
Bodybuilding methods is one way to classify it.
Sure.
Where when I have the events out here where I'm working with the strength athletes, I'll spend a lot of time on those type of things because that's back end training. So the front end training being your main lift,
sure.
your heavy supplemental exercise, and then you have all the other crap that you do, which the default's 3 to 5 sets of 10, just going through sets and reps.
Good.
And they don't need to do that. They could do 2 sets of an intensification principle like you're talking about, or a rest pause. And then instead of that back end training, which is basically all hypertrophy based anyhow, instead of that taking 35 minutes, it could take 5,
8.
Not a whole lot with less joint stress.
Yeah.
And probably better results than they're getting doing
more
that.
tension.
Yeah.
No, they're getting one.
Yeah.
Every set they're getting one point where they are isometric. They get one chance at having maximal tension, mechanical tension, because that's isometric. You can't move it. You're giving it everything you've got. That's your maximal tension. But now they get that you hit twice every rep you do.
Oh yeah.
So we did 4 or 5 reps. I think 6 is fine. 5 is good, 4 is good. I'm not going to argue with anybody about reps. But what I am going to argue about is tension, mechanical tension. If I can get more mechanical tension, I have a reason to expect more growth from that repetition.
Yes.
And that is true. But the I'll use your term, back end of this kind of training is less recovery burden. And so less recovery burden means I can do this again sooner. I can go through this same high mechanical tension stimulus for actual protein synthesis sooner because I recovered sooner. And the peak in metabolic activity and growth and all that after one single exercise bout is about 30 to 40 hours. And so we'll say 48 hours. If you wait 48 hours between doing 2 sets of these where I'm getting maximal tension, that's like being at that rep where you fail over and over and over and over and over and over. How many times do you get that in 4 sets of 8?
Well, very rarely.
4 times. You get it 4 times because you're trying to get 9. You get it 4 times. How many did you get it? How many times do you get it in 2 sets of 4? When you get it once up, once down on the first rep. Again, once up, once down on the second rep. I'm on the 3rd rep, and I've already got 6 of those. I'm only on the 3rd rep of the first set. So I'm going to get a lot more moments where the physical structure feels maximal tension, maximal mechanical tension.
Was any of this in your own journey inspired through HIIT training principles?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And I want to finish that thought, and
please.
then I'll get onto that. So if I can come back 48 hours and get a whole bunch more of that, and let's say that I have some other recovery principles in order, like I'm eating enough and I'm sleeping enough and I'm calming myself down and meditating and I'm happy and I got the rest of my life in order. Well, then how much progress am I going to make in 1 month versus somebody else who is fighting that more and more and more and more weight, more and more demand for recovery? I'm going to get a lot more stimulus and recovery in that same month, year, week. And so there's a huge value of understanding this balance between getting the stimulus and how much I got to pay for that stimulus, right? I want the stimulus, and if I can get it for less recovery burden, what a deal for me, right? And this also applies to younger lifters. So it's absolutely necessary for guys that are benching 300 the first year, 400 the second year, 500 the third year, because that's hard to recover from, that weight. And so they better get their recovery habits in order. But early on, it's hard to get a 30-year-old guy to give up an hour being with his friends for sleep. And so what he'll do is he'll sacrifice an hour of sleep to stay at the bar or at the game or the concert or with his girlfriend. And so they're constantly sacrificing a good recovery habit, sleep, for something that's shiny and bright and fun. And it's hard to get them to do that. Well, if they didn't have such a heavy burden, maybe they could get away with having a little bit more time to learn good habits, right? And so this is valuable for every way of thinking, and it doesn't matter. And this was just bodybuilding stuff, but if you think about what you're doing in the gym and what that's going to stimulate, and compare that to what you got to pay for that, then this calculus that you do, this ratio that you create, is important. And so just the concept of, I'm going to spend some time thinking about how hard I work, and I know I have to create more mechanical tension, and year after year you do, because you get stronger. And I can either match my increases in the gym, and you should, but I can match my recovery habits with the training in the gym, and you expect the training to get better every year, but nobody expects to have to work at their recovery every year. They're still recovering when they bench 300, and now they're trying to bench 500, and they're like, why am I not recovering? Why am I not benching more? Well, because you did a program that was successful in the gym, and you expected it to get harder and harder and better, and you did nothing in your planning of getting better sleep. Maybe not more sleep, but better sleep. Maybe not better diet, maybe not more food, but better food. Maybe like all these other recovery things. And that takes a long time to get to the point where it becomes necessary. And it's absolutely necessary at the higher levels of lifting, but not so much at the beginning. But if you begin to start thinking about this right off the bat, then you're going to be like, well, I increased my training. What am I going to do to increase my recovery to match that? And then I did it again. And if you get people thinking about this early on, then they naturally fit each other.
Yeah.
And it works out real well.
It's a big ask to get somebody to think about that early on.
Not if you get a 14-year-old and you teach him this.
Yeah.
He'll think that's how everybody does it.
If you get him young enough. So, yeah,
and young enough and not corrupted by the internet yet.
Yeah. Well, there's the balance too of.
So was that clear day before?
No, I get it. Yeah. No, you made your point.
That's what we did with the one thing.
Yeah.
And we did something with acceleration that I was talking to you about. We can go back to that.
Yeah.
But you have another question.
Well, it's the same balance that you're talking about, but as a lifter gets stronger, the main movement that they're doing, regardless of the philosophy that they're training from, so the bench, or the main movement, as they get stronger, is going to take more out of them, as you've noted. And as they get older, it's going to take more out of them, as you've noted. And as they get stronger, they need more recovery, as you've noted. But with all their accessories that happen after that, the way that they did them earlier in their career, just fluff and buff or just heave and throw shit, right? That needs to become better and more efficient too, because in the very beginning, that was the last thing that you really thought you needed to recover from, is all the extra crap that you do. Whereas that bigger thing becomes more of a bigger stimulus to recover from, you don't have a whole lot of control.
It eats that other
over
stuff
that.
away.
There's some things you can do to control the volume there, but not much.
You gotta hit the big weights.
The accessory stuff, though, from what you're talking about, and learning how to intensify those repetitions, lower the weight, lower the volume, becomes more manageable. And what oftentimes happens, and you've seen it, I've seen it, they just quit doing those things.
Right, because the ability to do them and recover was eaten up by the demand for the main lift.
Yes, and they didn't bring up the recovery abilities on that one hand, sleep, all those other things.
So they have to quit doing them.
And then that ends up being a problem in itself.
Yeah, and so what you want to do is, you don't want to give up, if you're doing an accessory lift and you're lowering volume and you're lowering weight and you're lowering wear and tear, you can't give up stimulus, because then there's no reason to lower volume and weight and wear and tear if it doesn't get you anything. So you have to keep the tension high. And is there a way, and there is, a way to keep the stimulus where it needs to be and lower volume and lower the weight used and lower the recovery burden.
Yeah.
So you can't lower the weight, as you said, on your main lifts, because that has to, you can't do it.
It's the main thing.
It's the main thing.
But that,
it
yeah,
can consume all of, and for me it did.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where I did almost next to zero other lifts. I did bench press and triceps, and on bench day I did bench press, and on triceps I did 1 or 2 movements. The end.
Mm-hmm.
All my recovery was eaten up by that, and I couldn't do. So I had to train my back and my shoulders and my biceps on the off season, and then hope that held for the for in season when I peaked. But there might be a way to do a very high intensity, very high stimulus, low volume, perhaps low weight, perhaps low stress even. Way to incorporate that into. And I think there is, right?
There may be, and the question would be, could it actually be restorative? Because it is still movement, and it still is, you're breaking tissue, right? So you are creating that.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't break tissue.
Yeah, not breaking tissue, but
hopefully
creating the stimulus.
Stress tissue.
Yeah, the stress
if you
tissue.
break tissue, it dies.
Yeah, you're fucked. You're screwed. Where it could, I'm going to backtrack on that, because it can't be. Because if it's done right, you're going to have to recover from that.
Yeah.
Where if it's just a fluff and buff, like 100 rep
then
band pushed
worth
out.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't worth doing. If it didn't get me somewhere, why be in the gym?
Yes.
So we need to make sure that anything we do in a gym has to have a justification, not spending time in a gym. It has to be, if I do something, it has to have a stimulus that's going to get me somewhere. And a lot of people do a lot of things in the gym that don't stimulate. They do a lot of volume. I heard the term junk volume, and I like that term.
Yeah.
It's just junk volume. They're just doing stuff to get blood or a pump or a burn, and that's blood, pump, and burn. Blood is fluid, pump is fluid. Burn is just the results of using glycogen and turn it into lactate, and fatigue, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have stimulated growth. What do we really want? Mechanical tension is what we really want.
Yeah.
And we can get that really quick, and really, so we can get it briefly. It's extremely intense. It's 100% of what you can't get more tension on the muscle. There's no way to put more tension on the muscle than the isometric. You can't do it concentrically, you can't do it eccentrically. People have tried to overload the eccentrics, but that has different ramifications. So in the contractions that we do normally in the gym, your best bet for mechanical tension is isometric. And so we did that one thing in the middle, and then I also mixed it up on them. We did some down low in this part of the range, some up high in this part of the range. So you can do that isometric anywhere, right? And the thing about isometrics is it benefits in strength right where you do the isometric, and not too much anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So it behooves you to do them in different places. But either way, for muscle growth, not for strength, but for new fibers, new protein synthesis, the goal should be the goal, and that goal should be mechanical tension.
For the muscle growth, would you keep it more to isolated exercises or compound exercises?
Compound exercises are much, much harder.
Yeah.
So I would learn this, and we did today. He'd never done this before. So he learned it on the bicep hinge joint. Yeah, easy. Fusiform fibers, end to end, super, super simple, right? But you could do it on anything. You could create a blocking point, and every lift has a sticking point. Your squat, your deadlift, lat pull down. So many compound movements have the opportunity to do this. I would not do this on the main lifts. So this is something that's a muscle builder, not necessarily a strength builder, but believe me, you'll get stronger doing this. But that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it to build muscle. And hopefully with more muscle, we can incorporate that muscle with really good neurological input to coordinate it to be much more stronger. So if I have twice the muscle than I did before I did this training, I should be quite a bit stronger if I can time that and use it all together. Use the muscle that I had plus the new muscle and learn them, give them a good learning together. There's no reason to not expect to be stronger from just regular muscle building. That you weren't trying to necessarily get stronger, but in the end, I can use that muscle to produce more force on a bar and be stronger.
Well, let's go back to defining the muscle building, right? Because hypothetically, you could take somebody that's, pushing insulin, sodium, and carbs.
Okay, so
so now we're going loading.
There's another stimulus for muscle, and that's hormonal.
Yes.
Growth hormone, insulin, estrogen, testosterone.
Glycogen is the other thing I'm speaking about.
Go ahead.
So loading that muscle with glycogen, right? So where I'm going with this.
That doesn't build any fibrils, but it does take up a huge amount of space.
Yeah, but in somebody looking at that person has a lot of muscle, right? Way bigger. They should be way stronger.
Yeah.
Different.
I'm talking about if we build new muscle, meaning we build new fibers.
Yes.
So if I have twice the fibers, I shouldn't maybe say.
Yeah.
So if I have more fibrils even, then I should be able to get the nerve signal to those in a coordinated manner with practice, and they should all be able to fire together more and more in synchronous, and time it so that those new fibers contribute to more force production.
Yeah, with sticking points, that brings us to the other lifter that you had out.
Yeah.
So what was going on there?
Well, so Jordan said that he's benching 435 or 440, and he wants to bench 450. And every time, and apparently he's tried it in a couple meets and failed at a certain point. And he's like, I want to break through this barrier. And so you and I talked earlier about how when you, well, I shouldn't speak for you, but I assume that you were just like me, and everybody that wanted to break through a sticking point went to the power rack and did pin presses off that sticking point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's other ways to do it too. You can do an isometric in the, and I saw this back in our day. You would put the bar under the pins and put it at your sticking point and try to break the pins, right? Do an isometric, and that was super successful for people, and it is. What we did today to try to attack that is the exercise that we did was to learn to accelerate into the sticking point and through the sticking point. Now, what that means is first I have to define acceleration, right? So bar speed is a constant. Speed is a constant value. But acceleration is a change in speeds. So when something accelerates, and I use that car example of you're going 30 miles an hour, and you're maintaining that speed. You're going down the road 30 miles an hour. And that speed isn't hard to maintain. It doesn't take a lot of force to maintain the speed that you're going because the body in motion wants to stay in motion. So you're going down the road, wheels are rolling, and you're 30 miles an hour. But if you want to accelerate to 50 miles an hour from 30 miles an hour, that's going to take a lot of force because that's a change in speed. Now, once you get to 50, you can be back on that. You don't have to keep your foot on the accelerator. You can back off the accelerator again. So you've got a constant speed here. Your accelerator is at one place. A certain amount of force maintaining that. That's a constant speed. But acceleration is a change in force. And the faster you want that change to happen, you want that to happen in 10 seconds, and you smoothly accelerate, that's less force needed. But if you want it to happen right now, it's a huge amount of force. And you can talk to guys that do race cars, and they will tell you, for me to get a little bit more acceleration, I need a whole bunch more horsepower to do that. But they could still get to that speed if they had longer to do it, which is a slower acceleration. So acceleration is change in force, and it's change in speed. I misspoke. Acceleration is going from one speed to another. And so acceleration is always a change of two speeds. It's not a speed itself. It's a rate of change. It's the delta speed. It's the change of speed.
And so it takes a huge amount of force. And so let's think about a lift. There's a point in a lift, and he knows where it is, that he needs the most force, because it's a place where he runs out of force. The bar comes to a near standstill, or in his case, it's done, and it was pretty high on him. But it's at different places for different people. I call that the one man to beat to the goal line. If you beat that one man, that one place where you need the most force, if you beat him, you win. Just touchdown. So that's when you need to be at your best, and it's known. Everybody should be able to know where that's at, you know. And it's not here. It's not on your chest. You don't necessarily need the most acceleration there. You don't need the most force there either. You need the force right where you know you need it. The one man you got to beat. So that's when you have to be at your best. And that's when you have to produce the most force. And so if we know that, and we know that what's going to happen as I get there is that the bar speed is going to slow down. It's going to slow down when I get there. I still need to be thinking about accelerating. And accelerating isn't speed. It's not a speed. It's a change in speed. So what I have to do is I have to get that force. What changes speed? Force. So I have to learn how to apply more force when I need it the most. Okay? And we know where that is. So we did a drill where he took like he's a very strong guy. He's like, 198er benching, 450 raw. And so we put, I think, 315, 335. I think we tried 365 too. And he would smoothly lift it up to just shy of his sticking point. And then when he got to his sticking point, he would accelerate. He would teach himself to put more force on the bar. So more bar speed on that's the drill we did. And more bar speed on any sub-maximal load will be evidenced in an increase in speed. So if I have somebody lift 135, nice and smooth, up and down, and I tell them to put more force on it, what happens? Bar moves faster. Anytime you apply more force to a given load, that force results in more acceleration, more speed.
So what is his tempo going into that spot?
Smooth. Just smooth.
Smoother than normal, or his normal?
No, his normal is to go every man for himself from here to there. And he doesn't think about anything after this.
Yeah.
He explodes and then hopes it makes it.
Okay.
And so his acceleration, all of his acceleration, all of his teaching himself is to just go and hope that it lasts.
Yeah.
Right? And so what we're doing is we're saying that it's not going to go.
Yeah.
If it's a max load, it's going to stop. And you haven't trained yourself to handle, I'll use the term re-acceleration. That's a bad term.
Yeah.
But in a max load, not a sub-max load, you're going to do that, you're going to explode, and it's going to stop or want to stop. And you need to know how to, I call it grind it out. And all that means is you got to learn how to send more force to that to try to re-accelerate it. And those are bad terms, but you can feel this super easy. It's not hard to feel. Mm-hmm. And so the upshot of this is there's like two accelerations, and I don't think you should do these at the same time. I think you should take a time away from your normal, press and then go, which you've already learned, but that doesn't teach you anything about the stick point.
Yeah.
Doesn't teach you anything. And so if you only load and fail at meets, you get to that and you're like, what the hell do I do now? And you panic and you try this and you try that and you learn something from that. But you do that 4 or 5 times a year, maybe. Well, if you put yourself in that situation where you teach yourself how to, when you need it, where you need it, physically, your mechanics, if you teach yourself how to accelerate from there as it's moving. So I like this better than pin presses because
it's sitting on a pin, and then I jerk, and there's all those impact forces on the tendons and stuff. The bar is moving smoothly, and you know that in a meet, if this is a max lift, it's going to slow down right here, and I know I need to teach myself how to create more force. So with a submax load, that will mean more acceleration. With a max load, it's just going to keep moving super, super slow, but you're going to put more force into it. And that force is just going to barely be able to, so you won't see any increase in speed, but you do with the submax load. So the more force we put on a bar, that will be, so speed is the evidence of more force. At any submax load, 135, 225, the more force is on the bar, the faster I will see that bar move. I don't want speed necessarily, I want force. And you can see if there's more force, if there's more speed on a submax load. You can't see that on a max load because it's almost at zero speed, no matter what you do. And if you don't get enough force, it will be zero.
So would a way to explain what you had him do today in a simplified way just be
Did I complicate that?
no,
Okay,
that it's because there's other ways, right? So I could say it's tempo training where you're having him lower the tempo a little bit lower than normal, and then accelerate or have a higher tempo at that sticking point.
Yeah, but I don't want to call it that, but people understand it that way. I want to call it force.
Yeah, but
Higher force.
But you can do the same thing.
When he needs the Go ahead.
If he pushed the bar up into your hands, and then he's pushing into your hands, and you take your hands away.
Yeah.
Right there, or chains properly set in the right spot.
Yeah. There's more ways to do it.
Yeah. So
but this is an easy way to feel it live.
Yes.
So chains feel different than live weight. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
Bands feel very different than live weight. Someone resisting you feels very different. He's doing it with what feels right, and it'll teach him. And there's two teaching things here. I'm teaching. He's already learned how to explode off his. He's already learned how to accelerate, which means put more force into off his chest.
Yeah.
And that force will be shown in acceleration. That's the evidence of the force. And then I'm trying to show him that he hasn't learned much about what happens when that bar goes about back to zero, just like when it was here. It's zero here for real zero, and it's almost zero right here. And he hasn't learned much about creating more force there. And so with a submax load, the more force that he puts into the bar from his sticking point to the finish, the more force the faster I will see it. And I can tell if he's learning to put more force in by the evidence of the acceleration of the speed. But when he's got a max load on there won't be hardly any. That force will be used up completely, and it won't go to accelerating the bar. It'll be going to barely moving the bar. But that's fine. If we get past that one man, then we're good.
Yes.
Then we're fine.
And as we were talking earlier, for those listening, there's three things, usually a combination of all three, that happen when you hit that point. There's physical, mental, and technical. So I'm going to guess for most people listening, the first place they should look is technical.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's the easiest to clean up.
They're always way out of position.
Yeah, it's easiest to clean up too.
Yeah.
For most. And then the other thing that we're talking about is a lot of people with a sticking point will say that they always miss there, and so I like to debunk that myth real quick and kind of change that mindset, because if they're in the bench, for instance, if they're not in a position to be able to drive the bar through, their back's not locked the way it should be.
Technical.
Their base sucks. Granted, they can still beat it with what you're talking about with unstable. If it's always been unstable, they can always just make it a stronger unstable, if that makes sense. In other words, somebody that's got a shitty squat form can still get stronger with a shitty squat form.
Yes, they can.
So the same
overload
point there.
still works.
Overload
in
still
bad
works.
position.
Yeah. Where optimally you want to be in the optimal position.
Right.
To be able to push through with that. And then if it is a training stimulus like what you're talking about and the more advanced lifter, how long can he do that before it will have negative adaptations?
Well, so not long. You don't have to do it long. You have to begin to understand and blend these 2 points of almost coming to a stop, a dead stop when you. So this is a stop, and can be a stop, right? And so they require different neural input to the muscles at these points. You're accelerating this from here to there, but then it stops because it's so damn heavy. Now what?
Well, are we speaking motor learning though?
A lot.
Because that can take time.
Learning. Yeah, a lot of motor learning.
Yeah.
And this is the introduction to that.
Yeah.
And then I think this is the easy way back home to a full stroke, from the bench position to locking out. I think this is easy. The easiest that I know of to blend back these 2 separate motor patterns. We're really accelerating here, and we're really accelerating here. And if it's a sub-max load, they both accelerate quite a bit. He blows it off his chest, and then he could also blow it from this point or from pins or anything. But it's moving, and it feels right, and it feels natural, and it feels like, it doesn't feel like, driving off pins. I hated that.
Yeah.
I did a lot of it.
Yeah,
too.
well, it's a tough one too, because you're going from kind of like you're trying to get tight, but you're not tight.
Hard to, right?
Yeah.
Here I'm in the process, and I'm accelerating right when I want to, and if it's a sub-max load, it will. In a meet, it isn't going to accelerate much, right? It's going to just barely make it past the one man.
Yeah.
But I think blending these 2 separate motor patterns, and agreed they are, and they could be confusing, but they're a long way away from each other. And I think it's easier because the weight's moving and it's heavy, and you're in your groove, and you're already braced, and all that stuff is all set up. Doing it this way, and it just seems really easy to say, I'm gonna do my regular bench training, and then I'm gonna take 6 weeks, 4 weeks. I wouldn't even go 8 weeks, probably 6 weeks, doing this. I don't even know what to call it. It's just breaking through a sticking point work, but it's concentrating on understanding that in a meet, this is going to come back to a stalemate with me and the weight, and I better know how to turn it on up here and create more force, because what I need is a little more force now, because it just stopped. I didn't make it. I gave it everything I got here, and I accelerated, and I tried to build momentum and get past that.
Yeah.
But we didn't make it. So here we are.
Yeah, more a question of curiosity now that you kind of brought up the pin press thing, and I'm thinking back to that.
I hated them though, too.
Well, I did too, because it just hurt like a bitch. But did you have any success when Louis started changing all that to pressing off of chains instead of the pins?
I had enormous success with the chains.
Yeah. No, pressing off of the chains, not against the chains. So the barbell was hanging from chains.
Never did that.
Which allowed you to kind of, because the bar would either slide, to get underneath there. Where when it was hanging off a chain, when it was hanging off a chain, you could kind of
reps.
Yeah, you could kind of like float it a little bit because it's suspended.
I see what you're saying, and that's a step in the right direction. I think.
Yeah, and it's
off of the pins to the chains. I never did that, but I like that.
I don't know if it made that much difference though.
No?
That's all, I was out of curiosity. I didn't know if you were.
You didn't get surprised right off the pins when you were half an inch low.
Yeah.
And that was horrible to realize I got to be up here, and you'd see yourself move it back to where it goes.
Yeah.
So I think that makes some good sense. I didn't do that.
Okay, I thought you did, so I didn't know.
No, I never did that, but I'm amenable to that. That's pretty smart. That's good.
Yeah, it was.
I would see that.
I don't know how much more it helped. Yeah,
this is even more live. This is even more right. You are
I agree.
in your position. You're mechanically correct. You're technically correct, and you're already moving a good heavy weight. But then you get this practice of what goes on up here when I need more force. And if you're just used to just blowing through weights, and they're flying up, sub-maximal weights, and they're always flying up, you're already beating the man. right? But what you need practice is in a meet, you're not gonna so easily beat that man, right? It's gonna rob you of that momentum, and hopefully you have, if you train that way and you explode up, and you just hope you coast past the sticking point, then you made it. But you'll put 5 more pounds on, and you won't coast past. You'll get to that point where I'm talking about, where it doesn't want to go and you want to go, and it's a stalemate. Now what? What have you learned here? How many times have you been here? Well, this sort of tells you about that.
Yes. Now, since the time we sat down last, probably you're working with more people online.
Yeah.
How do you do this that we're talking about with people online?
Well, Dave, I brought a guy with me from Seattle, Washington. I've been training him for, he said, 18 months, 16 months. I knew it was over a year. He's very successful. He's doing great. He surprises me. He I think, to be quite honest, Dave, he's uncovering strength that he's always had and attributing it to me, But he's just uncovering strength. But he is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and he has been for a year. And so I don't want to take too much credit. But what I was able to do this weekend, we were in Columbus this weekend, and I was able to train him for the first time live. And he decided he wanted to do his triceps and JM presses. And it took me 1 set, 2 sets to be able to walk over physically to him and making a little adjustment and get tremendous more effectiveness out of it. We had to move the weight down 35 pounds. So he was getting sets of 6 with 35 pounds more, doing it just a little bit different over the internet, to where I could come in and make a small couple of adjustments. We made a couple of adjustments in bracing, and we made an adjustment in elbow positions as the JM presses, and they were slight. And he couldn't get the reps, right? So we went down. And so now he's going to be able to put that slight adjustment that I was able to make live, that I can't make over the internet distance. He's going to be able to make more progress and get more tricep strength and use it on his bench with less weight. And he's still going to be able to get right back to where he was. He's going to go up 5 pounds at a time, get back to the weight we moved back from, 30 pounds or so. But he'll be getting more strength right now than he would have been getting at 5 pounds more from where he was with these slight changes that we made to his position.
But because you're online, you've had to find a way to make it work.
Sir. Okay, I see the question.
Optimally for you.
Yeah. So I guess I was getting to that. I suppose, but I forgot about it, Dave. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It happens, right?
It happens to me a lot. So I wanted to make the point that it's quite a bit easier for me to get people to do and understand what I want live. And so what I've had to try to do online is become really descriptive with my words. I've got to talk them through that position. And he had great form. I taught him how to do the presses, right? And so he knows how to do them right. But that small adjustment, I couldn't convey with my words necessarily. Right.
All right. Well, you're talking them through, which tells me that you're doing some video training with them.
Yeah, we do. We set up a tripod. He gets the wireless, so he can always hear me. Okay. And I can always watch him. And
so you're actually training them virtually.
Yeah, we go through six sets of 6 and 6 sets of 6.
Yes.
And what I've learned is, after we get good technique, I can only get it so good through telling people. Yeah. I can get it really good if I can put my hands on them and move them and show them.
But what you're doing is different than sending an email that says do 6 sets of 6.
No. I go through every set and rep with these people. I have a belief about being a good coach, and that is that you must become vulnerable with your athletes. And when you bring yourself down and you become vulnerable and you give a shit if they make it or they don't make it, and you're there every rep with them, and I'm in their ear the whole time, then they trust you, they give you more. But you have to do that. You have to succeed and fail with them. You can't say, I'm up here and I want you to come to me. Meet my expectations. I'm sorry, Dave, I think that's my phone.
Oh, okay.
I should have moved it way far away.
That's all right.
I apologize.
You're good. You're good. It will quit here in a minute.
I never get any phone calls, right? That might be one of my clients.
He'll get it. He'll get it.
Yeah, pull that away, Buck.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
But back to the point
Yeah.
that if you bring yourself down and care about their success, then you're going to put a lot into it, and they feel that, and they know that, and they hear that in your voice, and they try really, really hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. I don't know what that was.
I
have no idea what. That's not my phone.
Did that come from his phone?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what he did.
What? Never mind.
He went to turn it off and he turned the SOS on, right?
Oh my God, I've never heard that.
Whatever, it's good.
So that's terribly embarrassing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's fine.
David.
No, it's good.
Back to the point
Yeah.
of a coach incorporating themselves into their athlete, and the athlete responding to that by wanting to work harder. And it's all about giving more. It's not about the program. It's not about the sets and reps. Then you get that from them. And here's, I think, where the coaches that do that pretty well, or a little bit, go wrong, is then they co-opt their client's success. They say, I took him to this, and I got him to a 500, and I did this, and we won this. And I think that's going too far. I think it's fine for us to care about the success and failure and bear that within ourselves. But I don't think it's fine to then jump onto the wagon and feel like their success is our success. We're doing this for them. Their success is their success. Our success is if we were able to help them.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't get involved in the glory of it.
Well, earlier you were talking about, the statement was devaluing the program.
I do. I devalue the program, and I accentuate effort. I accentuate the process. So I never argue about people's numbers and programs. You do this, I do that. Now I have a program, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I'm not going to argue anybody else's program, because I know that plenty of people have been successful doing this, but other people have been just as successful doing that. So why are we going to argue about that?
Yeah.
That's like arguing about the color of the uniform. What singlet should I wear? I got to get the singlet right. That's like saying I got to get my sets and reps right, to me.
Yeah.
It's not the color of the uniform that makes the player. It's what's inside the player and the effort that you give. And if you give effort to any program, I like this term, if you give yourself over to, I read Jack Kerouac's book, and he says people are always looking for something to give themselves to. Religion, sport, But I like that term. If you give yourself over to something, even a relationship or anything, people always want to give themselves to something. And if you do that, does it matter if you're doing 5 sets of 5, 5, 3, 1, 6 sets of 6? I don't think so. Because many people have been successful with all of those. Mm-hmm. But what I think is the underlying thing, that's the color of the uniform. What is under that is getting people to sell out to your program, getting people to give themselves over to it, getting people to give the extra effort. That's what's really underneath all the success of the programs. Because their programs are super, super, super different. How can they all be right? Because they don't really matter that much. What really matters more than the program is the heart and the effort and the attitude.
Well, I would add another layer. If you're the coach of the program and you've always used and have mastered and tweaked the program over decades, say let's call your program your philosophy, right? Mm-hmm. So you've mastered that philosophy. That's one less thing you have to worry about when you're working with this athlete and you're looking at all the other components that you have to put in there, mm-hmm. right? Where if a coach that's upcoming isn't working on trying to master their own philosophy of the X's and O's and all the other kind of stuff, then they're always going to be worried about, is this the right thing? And now they're focusing on the wrong thing.
Correct. They are focusing on the wrong
Right?
thing.
So it's not just the athletes that will jump around.
Yeah.
The coaches jump around.
Yeah. Perfect.
And what I see is, instead of taking a more linear process that others have taken, I'm going to learn this, then I'm going to learn this, and there's steps to it. And then you're also going wide. It's not all training. I got to learn how to eat. I got to learn how to do this. I got to do this, because you can go so deep in one thing and go nowhere. It's just a deep hole, right? Because it doesn't go anywhere. They get so caught up in shiny things. It's the same way the athlete do, right?
They
Where
get distracted.
what they can simplify makes it easier to focus on what I think we agree is the most important things.
We do.
That effort and maybe buy-in, whatever you want to be able to call that. But how can you have buy-in as an athlete to a coach that's not even really sure what they're doing is right?
I don't know how you could. So one thing that will help build trust from an athlete to a coach and get more buy-in is if that coach gives more than they promised. So when you deliver to your athletes in attention, in time, in sincere caring about their development, when you say, I'll give you an hour, and you give them an hour and a half. When you get off your chair, and I sit down a lot, when you get off your chair and you go close to them and you sort of whisper in their ear, but not really, you're just closer to them and you're talking to them, and you're in their space, and your space is their space, and you share that space, and then you send them out to do something. That little bit of extra, instead of sitting back on your chair and going, all right, I need you to do this and I need you to do that, and then put your butt down. Every once in a while, for me, I have to think to do this because I sit so much because of my condition, my arthritis. I get up and I move towards them. Perhaps I even touch them. There's all kinds of studies about this. This is all psychology of manipulation. But I call it psychology of influence. I want them to do well. Manipulation is when you get something from them. Influence is when you give something to them, and they're the same techniques. But just touching somebody, or just when I would do leg presses, this was a big one. I try to tell personal trainers to do this. When you're standing over them and they're leg pressing and they're busting their ass for you, go down on one knee. Just come closer to them. Become more of their process. And so if you give a little bit more than is promised, and it doesn't have to be, Dave, that I promised you an hour and I gave you an hour and a half. It could be, I promised you an hour and we're going to go over 10 minutes. You start to trust me because you feel like, hey, he's really involved. He's sticking this out. We should have been done 10 minutes ago. And that's that stupid little 10 minutes. Or, believe it or not, 5 minutes. You give somebody 5 minutes more than you told them you were going to give them. And they start to trust you. They begin to trust you. And if they trust you, they begin to buy into your program more. And your program better be good, right? But even if your program isn't so good, and they give you a whole shitload of extra effort, your not so good program will produce great results.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as coaches, we need to be bought into our own programs, but not married to them.
Yeah.
If I see an athlete that is not doing well, I had a guy from Houston, and he was, I think he did a lot of things with Mark Ripito. He was a coach, he's a trainer, and he used to do clinics with Ripito and stuff, and I got to train him, and he's a good, hard worker and smart guy. He knows a lot about a lot. And I got to actually train him for his own competition, his own goals. And he was having trouble recovering. and we were trying to do the 6 of 6. And I said, let's go to 4 sets of 6. Boom, bam. So I'm not married to the program. I'll change I'm not in doubt, but I will adapt the program because I don't think the numbers are as important as getting the most out of somebody. And so I spend more of my time motivating people from the inside out than I do of actually sets and reps and counting and this and that.
So coaching.
Yes. That's a good way to put it, David.
Well, there's programming.
You've nailed it, David. Yeah. That's real coaching.
Yeah, to me, there's a difference between programming and actual coaching.
Yeah, so involve yourself and care and feel bad when they don't do well, but don't steal any of their joy, and you can still be just as joyous without stealing any of their glory. Don't steal any of their glory.
Yeah.
Have the joy with them and for them, and suffer with them when they don't do well.
Now, what are some of the goals your clients reach out to you for?
People start with me because they're interested in physical goals. And we start that way.
What type of physical goals?
I want to bench press 450 like this guy.
Okay, all right.
I want to do this. I want to clean up my technique.
So strength-related goals.
Some people, I don't do any training. We do technique sessions every time. There's a very accomplished lifter that I have from Michigan, and she's a 5-something deadlifter, and she wants to deadlift 600. And I said, well, we can do that, but why don't we try sumo?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been difficult for her because the numbers have to come down before they can go back up. But she'll certainly make it. I mean, she wants to make it, she'll make it, with me or without me. But she has a goal of lifting 600 pounds. And she came to me for that. But along the way, we had this struggle emotionally to deal with not lifting so well as I used to with the conventional. My numbers are down. And she just did a meet, and her numbers were down, and she didn't perform as well as she wanted to. But immediately she told me about how much she lives with her husband, or I'm not sure if they're married or not, but they live together, and they are a team, and they are learning. He's learning how to wrap her knees in the proper timing so that she can be on the platform not too soon, not too late. They're learning about how to support each other, and they learned a ton, and she didn't perform so well. So we had to shift I had to help her, or I tried to help her to dismiss the performance and be super happy and grateful for all the knowledge she learned. And I had her write me out some of the things that she learned and what was valuable, and it was super positive. Everything she wrote about was super positive, but she's all sad because she won. She was the best lifter of the meet. It was some pro-am meet, and I was proud of her for just. And by the way, in her defense, we did not peak for this meet. We trained right through it.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing sets of 6 right up to the meet. She didn't go to 3s and peak, and so we weren't trying to peak for this. But she still wanted to do well, and she did. She kicked everybody's ass, but she didn't hit her numbers. So there's an emotional reshuffling of priorities. I'm sorry, I banged on that again.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. Everybody, they told me not to bang on this table when I was here, and I sometimes am bad and don't do what I'm told. There has to be a re-establishment of what's important. And if you're not peaking for a meet, what's important? Your numbers can't be. You're not peaking.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to let go of that expectation of yourself, and we worked through that, I think, pretty well. She's back on track and sending me, I train her every week, but she also sends me her videos, and I just send back little critique of them, and they've been very, very good. So those kinds of things are real coaching, not numbers and stuff. Being able to change your program to fit the athlete without jumping ship from your program. Being able to adapt it is important, and still having confidence in it. And I do not believe that everybody has, well, I shouldn't get into that. I'm not going to argue anybody's program. I'm not going to do that. Any program can work, and the shittiest program there is out there that is done with complete buy-in and heart and drive and passion will produce plenty of results. The only time that's going to fail is at the very top end. And the very best program that anybody ever invented, my program, of course, Dave. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The best program that anybody's ever thought up, done half-heartedly, those people aren't going to get anything with the best program. And the people with the shittiest program who are passionately involved in it are going to get plenty. And these people are going to get nothing. So that tells me that the most important thing is not the program, but the way you attack the program and the way you involve yourself in the program. And I would say, I dare to say that how you attack the program is as important as the program itself. But I will go one more because I'm willing to be out in the air there. I would say how you attack the program is more important than a program.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Yeah, I'll come out and
more.
say that there's some shitty programs that even done with full. When we're talking shitty programs, we're talking about shitty programs that at least are adhering to the basic principles of progression of strength and conditioning.
You can't do something that's counterproductive.
Yeah, because there are some that are just
they are
shitty.
counterproductive.
Yeah, they're counterproductive.
Sure. So maybe I overspoke. So
yeah.
The lowest effective program.
Yeah.
The lowest one versus the highest one. Most effective program, least effective.
Yeah.
But it's still effective. Then the people that pour themselves into that are going to get plenty out of it. Even though it's the least effective, it's not super efficient. And the most efficient, best program, and people will not give you, they half-ass it. They half-ass everything. They cut out early. They shortcut. They're not going to get anything from your super great program.
So with your clients, because they're online, how do you work with them to do what you're talking about?
I talk to them like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, to be more.
Yeah, and so you asked a question earlier about the difficulties of the distance online.
Yeah.
And I try to make up for some of that where I can't move there by being super precise with my language, by being very accurate with my language. And when I see that I say it one way and it doesn't seem to stick, I immediately think, is there another way I can say this that they might get it through the words? Because they're going to get it if I move their position.
I get that, but when you're talking intent, which is a different conversation.
That's a good topic.
Right? So when you're talking intent as being one of the most important variables, the person that has the most intent into that program, how's that conversation look when it's online? Because it's, as I've come up through, and you came up kind of through the same times, right? You kind of learn it from the other people that are in the gym that are doing it.
Yes, indeed.
And now you're in this position where you have to try to teach that via FaceTime remote, but you're still in the gym, which is far more than what most people are doing. You're still in their ear, which is a different thing.
I do every rep with them. I do their warm-ups with them.
But how do you accomplish that, or how do you strive to accomplish that?
Good. Well put. How do I strive to accomplish it? Yeah. And what I can tell you is this. It's a very good question, Dave. And I think that my method, probably personally, and we could ask Bo, is that when I start to see the right thing, I give tons of praise. Tons.
What is the right thing?
When I see the right movement, the intent that I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
And when I see a glimmer of it, I pounce on it, and I'm like, that's it. You got it. You're getting it. You're doing good. Keep that up. More of that. One of my methods of training is when they're not with me, I have them videotape every set. And they'll do a set of 6, and I'll say, as soon as you finish the set, sit on the end of the bench and go through and find the best rep, the cleanest line, the best feel. Because one of them was better than the other. Now, hopefully they're all very similar, but one was the best. And I say, think about something that happened in that rep that you liked. And it doesn't have to be in words, it has to be in a feeling. Right? How did it feel right? Think about how it felt right. Go through that rep, repeat that good feeling in your mind. And by the way, dismiss all the things you did wrong. If one rep felt shitty, forget about it. Don't hold on to that.
Yeah.
Go feel that rep, and then walk over to your video and watch it and look for that rep, and then visually connect that rep with the feeling that you had. And teach yourself what right is. And don't worry about things you did wrong. When you're not with me, when you're with me, we can talk about what you did wrong. I don't want you doing that yourself. When you're by yourself, you focus on the positive and you throw away the negative and just keep trying to do better. So you did something really, really well. All right, try to outdo yourself on the next one. Try to do that even better than you did it, and build on your successes when I'm not there. And then we can deal with anything that was negative when I am training you. So that's how they do that. And so that's the this positive reward that I also try to give when I'm with them. So they're positively rewarding themselves for doing well and are sticking with that. And that way I know they're not gonna.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that I'm looking for, because if it's a group that's in a gym training, say you may have just done your set, right, and you did a triple, and be like, dude, that third rep was dead on, right? The first 2 looked like horse shit, but the third one was dead on. And this is part of like every set that's kind of going on with that.
Yeah, if your training partners are involved,
if they're involved,
and they make themselves vulnerable and they care about you. Right?
Yeah, so it's like that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how you trying to take that world and figure out ways to integrate it into this digital world, where what you just told me is a very good example of that.
Okay, that's one way.
Yes.
And then when I'm with them, then I mentioned that I try to maybe even give them a little bit of extra credit for doing something good. I let them know that they pleased me. That sounds pretty haughty, but I don't mean it to. But the people that are working with you and are giving you their heart and soul and blood and guts, they're not doing that necessarily all for their own, because they have invited you into that. And so they care that you approve. And I give them that approval every time I see something close to what I want. And it's not unlike teaching a dog to do some very complicated trick. If he's got to go over there and sit in a chair and rock back and forth and then jump over the chair, I'll give him a treat for just moving towards the chair. And then if he moves towards the chair and jumps in the chair, I give him more treats. And I keep giving him positive reinforcement. Hey, you're closer to the chair. Outstanding. I think you guys can hear my stomach growling. I apologize for that as well. Boy, I'm a mess today, huh? So giving them a positive reward for all the things they're doing good is a way of generating the intention to do more good. Punishing a dog for not jumping into the chair doesn't make him want to get into the chair anymore. He just wants to stop getting punished.
But on the flip side of that, so going back to a gym environment, say you do a rep that's just awful. Your training partner's going to be like, dude, like, what the fuck was that? They're like busting your balls.
Right.
You can't do that, or can you? Like, if the rep is just horrible, because now you're lost context.
When I'm close enough with somebody and they've been with me long enough, sometimes I will say, that was terrible. What happened there? Because it was terrible, and it's honest, and they understand that. But it takes us a while to get to that point where I can be like that. And there's no necessarily value to that.
There isn't, but it's just gym
on.
banter. It's
but there's no value to that early on. When you know somebody, and it's sort of like you know they can take a joke. It's not a joke, but you know they can take blunt criticism. Now I don't soften my criticism to anybody. I just don't criticize things that aren't important to criticize. I just skip it. I think in the beginning with somebody, and you're trying to get them to do the right form and have the right mindset, every time you see the glimmer of that spark, you better say something rather than say, what were you thinking about there?
Yeah.
That doesn't teach them to find a spark. That just criticizes them for not having a spark.
Yeah.
But if you don't say that too much or at all, because why? Criticizing you for not having a spark doesn't teach you how to get the spark. Hey, you're not trying hard enough. You don't have what it takes. I could say that to you over and over and over again. That doesn't teach you how to get the right attitude. I have to see you have a little bit of the right attitude and feed it.
Yeah.
Give you more. Let you know that I'm pleased. Let you know that you did well. You know, you being stingy with reward doesn't produce nearly as quick and deep results as not being so stingy. Now you can't go overboard. I think you and I talked about this before. Yeah. You can't do a backflip for them and buy an ice cream cone because they got a little closer to what you want. Credit where credit is due, and here's another thing that's from science. The sooner that you reward the thing that you want, the faster the learning. So if I see you do something well and the workout's over and I come up, hey, there was one thing you were outstanding a half hour ago that I saw out of you, and I want to tell you about it after the workout. That still works, but not as good as if you get up off your ass and go, hey, now you just got it. Right then. Then they learned that was the thing. And so that matters. So you can't do that if you're not paying attention, if you're not involved, if you're not vulnerable with them. If you're doing every set and rep with them, you can catch those glimmers. You can catch that thing that they did right, or the way that you can see how they thought right. Mm-hmm. That sounds strange. You can see how they thought, but you can. There's all kinds of ways that someone who's paying attention, close attention, because they're right there, every set, every rep, they pick up on when they have the right attitude and when they miss. In the attitude, not just in the physical outcome, but in the intention, like you said, the intention. And you can see somebody's intention. You know this, Dave. You see somebody that gets under a bench, and they're roaring and screaming and everything, but you see that they have some doubt. You can see it, right? And you're lifting off to them, and you're thinking, I don't think they're gonna make this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know before.
Right,
mm-hmm.
Right. So what's that about? Well, it's about nonverbal cues. But it's really just about you paying attention and not listening to the hype and the yelling and screaming and the slaps and all that. They lay down, and you can see
mm-hmm.
they have the right intention, or enough of the right intention.
Or you can see when they lost it.
Absolutely.
You know, so it could be halfway down. I mean, you can see it. The same thing in the squat. Mm-hmm. You know, when
they decide that.
Yeah. So I've been in many training groups over my life. I mean, everything's basically been training groups, and there's the joking around, humor, ball busting, and then there's the good job, pat on the back times, right? Where in the groups that I've been through, they're coherent. They one needs the other. Like, they're both there. And the best way for me to explain this is, if it's a newer group and you have newer people that come in and younger people just starting their journey, no, you're not going to be busting their balls and all this other stuff. You know, you're building them up, but they're hearing everybody else kind of going about their thing. And then maybe one day you slip something at them, you know, like, what the hell was that? You know, just like, and then it could be a month, 2 months, 3 months later, they throw something at you. right? So now they're busting somebody else's balls that's been around for 3 or 4 times. After that moment, their chest is higher, their confidence is higher. They've kind of become part of they're
ready.
The crew, like
that.
they're part of that, and taking them through that is important in that, because now they don't feel, because they're always going to feel like an outsider because they're not as strong, right? And that's just how the gym has always been for me. And then they all of a sudden, they're like, now they're part of it. And as soon as they engage at that level, and that may not even be necessary to get them to engage at that level, now they're starting to actually watch everybody else's technique. And they're starting to, and there's 2 things that happen there. They can actually start verbally cueing other people to help them. But when they're looking to see things right themselves, they're reinforcing in their own mind what it's supposed to look like. Where that, I don't know if can be replicated in some online sphere, because there's a lot of interpersonal dynamics and energy transfers.
Yeah.
Which is, momentum's like one thing. Like, I'll use the example of a few weeks ago out here. It's like 3 people missed pretty big in a row. It's like, bar hits the floor, somebody else misses a bench, and I'm like, being the idiot that I am, I'm like, I need to do something to change this momentum, because this is bad. There's like bad energy going in here right now, and it's not good.
Contagious.
Yeah. So then something changed. I can't explain what the hell that even is. But when somebody can change that energy, by a lift that they do, a PR that they do, or just a way they approach a lift, changes that whatever that is, that's in interpersonal communication dynamic, when that's lost, I don't know how you go about replacing it, right? And I guess as I'm working through this through my own head, is it even necessary to replace?
It's not necessary, but a good coach will care.
Yeah.
And try. And one way that we can affect a lot of people. So, by the way, I need to excuse myself from. I don't train groups of people.
No, I know that. I'm just talking. Yeah, I'm just talking.
But
yeah.
In thinking about what you said, one way that any coach or any person in the group can affect change is by being the example and trying to be the contagion the other way, to the positive. So people are doing this, and things are going this way. If somebody, like you said, turns it around by being the example. So sometimes you have to set an example. You have to go out of what you would normally do to say, I think this is what needs to happen right here. So I'm gonna try to effectuate that myself, and I'm gonna be that example that they can watch. And even if you're not lifting, you can maybe overemphasize that dynamic in yourself in the way that you approach them. And that's my guess about training groups.
Yeah. Or you get somebody within the group to do that.
Right. Or just focus on one and let them be the example. And then other people can come along or not if they want. Right? But so that's my best guess to answer that question for you.
So when we're on the subject of these intangible qualities, I suppose, of training, you say they come to you for physical reasons, right?
Did, yeah.
But then it ends up probably being more mental reasons.
Not probably.
So always, right?
I have people that started with me in the gym, and now we just do skull sessions.
All right, and then how do you get them to understand that this stuff that happens in the gym transfers to life, or life transfers to the gym? It's all the same.
Yeah. I learned a lot of good lessons in the gym, discoveries about myself by pushing myself in the gym. and this is a great place to do it. You can learn a lot about yourself anywhere if you want to, but man, this is a quick feedback. You had to do well, you do poorly, the bar goes or it doesn't go, and you add 5 more, and it's super quick, and the numbers make it easy to keep track of if you're making progress or not with yourself. And so I learned. So I put people in situations in a gym where they have to discover something about themselves. They have to teach themselves something. And I give them opportunity after opportunity, and I try to sort of connive, I don't know if that's the right word, but I try to tailor or experiences that they might have and kind of push them in one direction to see, we get here, and then what are you going to do? What are you going to learn? What can you learn about yourself? And then when they learn that in a gym, they have the opportunity to just use it in a gym to be their best over and over and over again. Or they could take that out into the world with them, because they should know that about themselves.
What do you mean by define an example of one of these opportunities you're speaking about? Are you talking about discipline or?
That could be.
Yes.
We could do that. We could do discipline. We could do perseverance. We could do reaction to a missed lift. How do you deal with that? How are you going to?
Okay.
And you can, I would never, ever.
No, but that's going to happen.
A missed lift.
Yeah, but that's going to happen.
I would wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
And then we would talk about that. Or you can step by step demand more and more and more of them. And that's easy to do. You could just add weight,
right?
but you go ahead.
So I miss a lift. Now I'm pissed off about it.
Okay.
So what's this look like?
For me?
Yeah.
All right, you just missed a lift. And first things first.
I'm pissed. I don't want to let it go.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Actually, I left the gym afterwards. I was so pissed.
No, I'm going to get you before you go.
Okay.
So I'm involved.
Okay. All right.
I'm involved. I'm right there. I'm not letting you leave until you listen up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't catch them. But if I did catch you, I'd say, what do you think went wrong? And you'd come up with something. And I would say, is that fixable or is that not fixable? And if it's fixable, then what do you think we should do to fix it? Now, I already have ideas about these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's fixable or if it's not fixable, could have been just a mistake, could have been a lack of concentration, could have been. So it'll give me information about what they experienced, and then I can think about some actionable events. Let's say they just lost concentration and lost form.
Well, when they answer that question, how many times is the first answer the correct answer?
I don't know, because it's their perception. So I'm going to take people at their word.
Okay.
And if they tell me that they perceived that
they weren't strong enough,
they got loose, they lost their tightness.
Yeah.
That's a common one.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I lost tightness.
All right.
JM, I lost tightness. I'm like, okay, is that correctable? Can you tighten up? And I have them give me at least a stab at some correction. So we immediately established that it doesn't have to be this way. I could make it better. And if we get to that point, then I start delving into the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And let's say they're super mad at themselves, and they often are. And a lot of times that can turn into... So my goal is to not turn that into self-punishment, because people want to do that. And the first thing that I want them to do is to have that moment of anger at themselves and say whatever they're going to say and have that real feeling, because it's real. And so for me to tell them to try to deny it is wrong. So I let them have it for a moment, a minute, a day, whatever is appropriate. And then I'm like, okay, so what you have to do now is let it go. And you have to focus on this actionable thing that's going to fix it. Right, because they told me there was an actionable thing. This is not unfixable, and we can't fix it. So go ahead and be mad at yourself. Go ahead and be sad. Go ahead and be depressed for a moment. And then let's move to what we're going to do. So I get this a lot of times with diet, and people don't lose the weight they're supposed to. They're supposed to lose 3 and they lose 2. And they're all pissed off at themselves. And they start self-deprecating. They start saying bad things about themselves as a person. Now, mind you, they lost 2 pounds. Mm-hmm. They had 2 pounds of victory, but they were shooting for 3, and they missed this 1 pound. And now, in spite of the 2 pounds that they lost, that are victory, those are 2 pounds gone in their diet. They're focused and perseverate on the 1 pound that they didn't. How long are you going to punish yourself for being successful 2 pounds? It can be a long time, and it can send them into a spiral of not doing the thing that is next. The next thing to do is to lose that pound, right? The next thing to do is to lose that pound that they didn't lose. And the sooner they get off this judgment trip and guilt trip, and the sooner they get back to doing what's going to lose that pound. And they know what's going to lose that pound because they lost 2 of them. They didn't lose 3, but they lost 2. So they absolutely positively know what they have to do next to lose that pound. Right? They know it. I know it. You know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. But they spend this time. Let me not say time. They spend this emotional energy. That's what they spend. They spend this emotional energy. Instead of losing that pound and getting right to it, they waste a whole bunch of mental and emotional energy beating themselves up for not losing it. And then when that finally gets done and they finally are ready to lose that pound, we're right where we left off before they blew all that energy on nothing. And now they have to put the energy and motion into losing that pound. Why don't we just skip all that punishment and emotional energy that's spent on, I didn't do this and I didn't do that? Why don't we just really truncate that? Let's abbreviate that. Let's minimize that. You can have it for a second. I'm sorry you didn't lose your pound extra. You lost 2 though. And now let's put all the rest of the emotional energy that we saved into what we have to do next.
So I think time can be a metric of that, because if I miss a lift, then my main objective is to be able to get over that missed lift before I even leave the gym. Actually, to get over that missed lift within 10 minutes, because I could be in a meet and I got another one after it.
Yeah, sooner it's better, right?
So if it takes me a day, then that's a metric that the next time let's make it take half a day.
Sure.
And then work it down, because it's almost like any adversity. If it's business adversity or whatever it is, yeah, there's only so much you can control, but you're still going to get mad and you're still going to be emotionally upset.
Okay.
But that time that you're upset takes away from time that you could be losing that pound or being creative to figure out how to actually move something forward instead of just being stagnant.
Yeah, I got to wait for you.
Yeah.
I got to wait for you to get ready to lose this pound. I would prefer for you to not even have that moment. I'd prefer you be like, I lost 2, I was trying to lose 3. Let's get back on it. Mm-hmm. Let's lose that next pound. And the quicker you can do it, the more of your energy and emotion and time.
So then what are the strategies to be able to get over that faster?
Well, one strategy is to see the truth of that. The longer I kick myself and add to my sorrows, you have enough sorrow for not hitting your goal. Let's let that be the punishment. Let's not punish yourself. God damn, I should have lost 3. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't do anything right. Let's just be like, oh man, I really wanted to lose 3 and I only lost 2, but I did lose 2. Back to work.
Wouldn't the caveat then be if they're rewarded for that?
Rewarded.
Like, I shouldn't have lost the 3. I should have done this. I should have done this. And then all of a sudden somebody else is saying, no, it's okay.
I don't understand. Say it again.
So they're rewarded, right? So say they miss the lift, right? So now after they miss the lift, they start bitching to it with their significant other. And they're like, no, it's okay. It's okay. So now they're getting all this attention that they otherwise wouldn't have got.
For missing,
right? Because now, in a way, they're a victim, right? So
I mean, victimhood gets you nowhere. Victimhood doesn't get you the next pound lost.
But it can get them in the attention.
If the goal was attention, then that's a win for them.
Yeah.
If that's the attention.
Well, I'm just thinking online, right? They post it online, then all of a sudden they can get attention for that.
Sure, I suppose.
Right? Likes,
but
whatever it's going to be.
That doesn't move them towards their goal.
Exactly. So part of the process would be always reminding them what the end goal is.
Absolutely. We have to keep the goal. The goal, Dave. We have to keep the goal the goal. And so if that happens, and they are truly rewarded by posting a disaster, and they somehow get lots of attention and lots of, oh, it's okay, you'll bounce back, then that was their goal. That was their goal. And they can keep missing and getting that attention.
Well, it may not have
achieve.
originally been their goal, but then it could.
But it felt good when they got all that.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out.
That's another distraction.
Yeah.
Right. That's another thing that isn't the goal that became the goal. We got pulled off course, man.
That happens. Not necessarily in that way, but it happens.
Sure
We've seen it with lifters and people in life in general.
Yeah. You remember the time in bench pressing when the shirts were changing and guys were bombing out of everything. Mm-hmm. Like everybody was a bomb.
Oh, yeah. It was.
But they got attention for missing their opener and then going up 100 pounds or 50 pounds and missing that and going up even more and missing that. Well,
he tried.
He that's a lot of weight, know. That's a lot of weight he missed.
He almost touched.
Dave, you know what I used to say? You miss whatever you miss, and I can miss more. I can beat you at that game. I can miss an infinite amount of weight. There's an infinite amount of weight that I cannot lift. Infinite. So you miss 800, I'll miss 805. Hell, I'll miss 905. Hell, I'll miss 1,005. Hell, I can miss anything you can miss, but better. Right? And so that's a spiral that goes nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So we absolutely need to avoid that. And if somebody is attracted to that, they're not attracted to victory, and they're not attracted to excellence, and they're not attracted to progress. So that's a clear sign that their priorities are wrong. And so if they discover that that's a way to go, you may not be able to pull them back into making something out of themselves. So that's a good point, and that is true, and that does happen, right? So let's say it does begin to happen with us. Now I've not thought about this ever before, so I'm going to try to think through this with you right now in the time that we have. So if somebody starts to get pulled off course by that particular shiny thing that isn't the goal, that particular distraction, what can we think of to bring them back? So first of all, we have to make them see that that's that. And sometimes, apparently I've had this problem myself. There's a lot of women that would tell you I have. It's hard to see our own faults. It's hard to see that we are off track on some things. Mm-hmm. And so what you need then, I think what would be required for a person that happened to, is getting back to someone they can trust, that they will listen to. And when they say, you shouldn't be rewarded by that, you should stop posting those failures online because you're starting to get a lot of attention for not doing well. You're getting the wrong kind of attention. And so so that's a prerequisite of somebody that gives a shit and somebody that cares and somebody that's involved and someone that the athlete trusts. So they're going to need that. And so hopefully you as a coach have built that with your athlete. So then you get them to see or to admit or to at least begin to think about on themselves that this might not be the right thing. And then I think what you do is, if attention has drawn them off course, what will bring them back on course? Attention. So you give them more attention than they're getting online for doing something right or something that you want them to do. I think that might work. I haven't thought this through all the way, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, is you give them a better reward for going this way instead of the reward they're getting for being a victim. Give them more reward for being a hero or for being capable or for being accountable than for being a victim. And you can do that as a coach if you are involved and if they trust you and if you are close enough to them. Then your reward that they get from you for being accountable. Hey, yeah, you missed that lift. And we know some of the reasons why. And I'm going to give you a shitload of attention for trying to fix it. I'm going to give you more attention for trying to fix it than they're giving you for sympathy and that.
Now, what if the person...
That's my guess.
Yeah, what if the person does not have that? Does not have that coach?
I don't know, Dave. I guess I'm trying to think through this. What if they don't have...
Well, here's where I'm going here, right?
To help redirect them and that can give them more of it.
How do they see this in themselves?
How can they make it sweeter? I don't know, Dave. I told you I couldn't see it in myself.
Well, that's why I'm throwing it out there, because if the gym truly is a microcosm of life, right? Okay. So if somebody is being pulled off path of what their objectives are, right, then same thing as a missed lift.
Okay.
You know, they're going to have some type of conscious awareness.
Right, and that's what you try to bring to them, right?
Yeah, I'm off path.
That was the first thing.
And then what is the path? Right, and first off, I'm off path, but then they need to remember, like, what is the path?
Yeah.
And because a lot of times in life, they're not going to have. In the gym, they can have a coach. Actually, a lot of people don't. Probably most people who are training don't have a coach. Right, so they got to figure that out. Now, in life, if we fall off path.
Is that my phone again?
I don't know what that is. Oh, it's mine.
That's your phone.
It's my phone.
I knew I never heard that from my phone.
Hey, look, we got a tornado warning.
Oh, okay.
Cool, right?
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm in a room full of
heavy weights.
20 to 5 to 4 pound plates that can fly through the air.
We'll just assume that we can't control this, so we're fucked, right? So there we go.
Do you have a basement in this joint?
No.
Okay.
No.
We'll lay low.
Yeah, but we're all right. We're all right.
We may be.
Yeah, we'll see.
But if this is it, Dave.
Yeah.
We're still doing something good.
We're still doing a podcast.
When the weight hits me in the head.
Yeah. I'll start squatting.
We're trying to help people.
Yeah.
And that weight hits me in the head. That's a good way to go.
All right. It looks all right. So, yeah, that was me the whole time. That was me the whole time. So
I thought, man.
So staying on that route, I think that what I try to do, if it's myself, and if I first off, if you're off course, sometimes you're just not going to know you're off course. We're human.
Yeah, that happened to me.
That's kind of the problem. But if it feels that way, then I will think back to, like, what if this was a missed lift, or what if this was my training?
Life, you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, good.
What if my training was not going the way I wanted it to go? What would I do right now? Well, I would stop. I would reassess, like, what is the objective I'm actually training for? Really is the objective, not the shiny objective. Like, what's the real objective? Yeah. And then how far off am I really? Because that's the first question that I would ask. Because sometimes, sometimes you're going to...
How far off course have I gotten?
It may only be one standard deviation, but it feels like 10 because it's so far out of your comfort zone. It is out of your comfort zone. So you got to assess. Right, the same way you would in the gym. Like, how far?
I like that, Dave. How far off am I?
Yeah.
And how much is it going to take to get? Okay, good.
Yeah. And then just kind of work that way.
Say more, Dave.
With it. But then, I just try to keep people around me that are willing to call me out on my own bullshit.
Right.
I mean, that's an important thing.
Well, I can't see what the back of my head looks like ever.
Yeah.
Somebody or some device has to give me that information. I can't get it on my own.
Yeah.
If I don't have a mirror or somebody else to tell me, how would I ever get it? Never, right? And But I like the first assessment you said about seeing how far we are off, because that the first thing I thought of is that if I'm too far off course, I might give up.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not so far off course, I may have that glimmer of hope. We're talking about being alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but Dave, how in the world, if I'm going off course, and I don't get somebody who's right there doing every set and rep with me, or right there in my life saying, hey, you're not studying enough, or you're showing up to work late, or
mm-hmm.
whatever, and that just keeps going. So I don't know how somebody pulls themselves out of that.
I don't know.
All by themselves. And then you finally find that you're here, and you're like, there's no way home. How do I get back home? How did I get this far off course? How many people say that? Perhaps I have said that.
Yeah.
How did I get here? How did this happen to myself? And so I don't know how that works too well.
Admittedly, I'm a little fucked up, so that has to be put out there to begin with, right?
That's a given.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I'll ask you. I have a pretend friend, and I have an
up.
imaginary friend, right? So I'll ask the pretend friend, right? Like, what advice would I give somebody else in this same situation?
That's a good one, yeah.
Right? If I don't like what that person says, then I'll ask the imaginary friend, and then see what they say. But at least I think the ability to think is important. That's a really fucked up statement, but think about that for a minute, because I think that, at least with my kids, sometimes I don't think they know how to think, but the ability to actually step back and think things through helps with that.
The ability, but
the ability to
how about saying, let me see if I can paraphrase. The willingness to think things through. I think people are very unwilling. They don't want to do the thinking. They could do the thinking, but they're not really willing to put in that effort, because that effort's very personal, especially when it talks to themselves. People don't like to think anyway, but they really don't like to think about themselves and their shortcomings. They really don't like to think about that. But before we get off on that too far, I want to make a statement about what we've sort of been talking nearby and about this whole time, which is this getting off track. And if you get too far, if somebody doesn't stop you, because you can't see that you're off track, you think you're doing fine. I've had this happen to me very seriously. The value, what you and I have been talking about or near, the value of having good people around you. You talked about training partners. You got to talk about people that can speak up. But having, how important is it, if we want to stay on track in life, to have somebody that helps us navigate, that has a different perspective than us? Because from my perspective, I'm doing fine, and I'm way off course, and I've been way off course. So we should put probably a lot of effort and time into trying to surround ourselves and attract good people to us that can serve that purpose for us. Not that our friends are here to serve us, but in this thing called life, whatever it is, I'm quoting Vonnegut, we should try to help each other through it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch this again, I'm going to see how many times we got close to saying that, all these problems can be avoided if you do a really good job of surrounding yourself with people that you trust, that trust you, and that you will listen to what they say when they tell you something horrible about yourself, and you'll hear it, and you'll consider it. Then you're not going to get too far off track.
Sometimes it can be as simple as just being around people that see that you're not normally as you are, right? So let's say I have a training crew out here on Saturday and Sunday, and it's basically the same people who have been out here for some months, others years. Right? I can come in and be not me, and somebody's going to say, "Are you all right?"
Oh, they notice that you're off.
Just notice that off, not just training wise, but like I'll notice with some other people. Like this is a little out of character.
They got to be close.
Yeah, what's going on, right? But to not put yourself in those social type of situations to where other people that they don't necessarily have vested interest in my mental health, but they're around me enough to know this is your normal.
Yeah.
This is a little not normal.
Like,
are you all right?
Today.
Something's a little off. Like, are you all right? Things good.
Valuable.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you'll lie, say yeah.
Sure.
But at least it was acknowledged, and then you can think,
why did they say that?
why did they say that? Exactly. So
why did they think I wasn't myself?
Yeah, that's a clue.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I've heard you say so many times about how important your training group was and the people around you. So we're just reiterating that in a different way, I think. You know. So let me take a break here, Dave, for a moment, and then we can pick this back up.
Yeah, we'll take a bathroom. We have to take a bathroom break real quick.
Yeah,
yep.
I got to. I'm sorry.
No, that works.
Thank you, David.
Americ Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americhealth.com/table talk, and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there, get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. americhealth.com/table talk. The discount code is table talk.
Today's episode is brought to you by elitefts.com. Founded in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elite FTS support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of us for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elite FTS has it.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elite FTS weight room, where the underground still thrives and you're part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. Americ Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americhealth.com/table talk, and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there, get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. americhealth.com/table talk. The discount code is table talk. Americ Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americhealth.com/table talk, and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there, get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. americhealth.com/table talk. The discount code is table talk. Yeah, are you ready?
Good.
Okay. I want to pick up where we left off because this is going to get really interesting, right? Because this just hit me as very interesting as we were talking here.
Okay.
Is basically what we're talking about is always keeping people involved around you, like a support system and so forth.
Yeah.
And we had that when powerlifting at a time when we would both admittedly, we have agreed that it was at a way higher priority in our lives than pretty much anything else, which in a way we purposely created a desert island for us to live on. In other words, this is my island, fuck off, this is what I want to do. Now, if you can help me do what I want to do, come aboard. If not, fuck off. this is my island. And now over the years, if we've gotten wiser, matured more, I don't think that attitude necessarily has to change, but our island needs to become bigger.
Well said, yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. I just sold some shirts, Dave, that echo what you said. I made some shirts that had that quote, "Get on my train or get off my track."
Yeah.
And that's what you said. If you want to help me, fine, you can. But if not, you better get out of my way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what we did. And I don't mind bringing people with me if they want to go where I want to go, but don't get in my way. For me and the people that want to go where we want to go, get off the track, get out the way.
For me, though,
But
as I matured and got older,
yeah,
I didn't want to bring other people on
okay,
because I was more comfortable
yeah, okay,
being, I don't want to say selfish, but being selfish, you know, is what it really is. But I would reframe it and say being all in and extremely oriented towards the one goal that I had provided me a reason to be able to operate under certain circumstances I like to operate in. Selfishness, you know? And so when that no longer became my, to be honest, excuse, you know, for being able to act that way, then you're lost, right? So it becomes harder, I think, for some to be able to say, I need to be part, I need other people to help.
yeah. I had a very dear friend tell me one year on my birthday, which is January 4th, beginning of the year, and he said, JM, this year, you absolutely have to learn. You have to learn how to let people help you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Well, I really do. I really don't let people help me. And so this is that interaction. This is that making the island bigger. I'm not going to do everything on my own in this island. I'm going to go ahead and let people help me. And now I've taken that one step further with the arthritis and everything, and I ask people to help me. I ask for help, and that was a big change, because there's this you get an identity from being a guy that helps other people all the time and never ever needs help, and that's pretty egotistical and whatnot, but it's an identity. You know, I'm the hero, I'll help everybody. But no, I don't need anybody's help. I'm the helper. I'm the hero. I'll be your hero. You're not going to be my hero. I'm not going to allow that. And now I'll let anybody that wants to help me. And that's a different identity that you take on. I don't think I've lost my desire to be helpful and to be somebody, and hero is much too strong a word, but it overemphasizes it. There are people that are caregivers, and they don't want any care. And they do all these things for other people, but they're the same way. They're the same attitude. They have the same identity. They get this identity from being the one that never needs care, but can always give it. And that's
Right,
sort
excuse
of
me for a minute.
Yes, self-destructive.
America Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Okay, are we back?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. That was my son in the bathroom, right? So I didn't know if he was having a meltdown or he was all excited about a video. So no problem, but my island's a little bit bigger, right? So, yeah, right. That's part of that island. So that's what that was. So it wasn't a bad thing, it was a good thing. So I was happy to see that.
Good.
So anyhow, as I was about ready to comment, is when we were kind of raised on this weird island, right? Then we grow up through that island. Getting to a point to ask for help is an achievement bigger than probably what you think, right? Because it's when you come up through and you're the person that's always helping people, it's a strength coach online and all this other stuff, in a way you end up with people around you that are yes men. They don't want to point out a lot of faults, so you kind of lose those voices to be able to say this. Unless sometimes it's a significant other, then it's a different type of thing, right? So then they're
very different.
Then that's sometimes it's a different dynamic. It is useful,
super helpful,
but it can also be punishing at the same time.
And you can certainly, perhaps a person could be resistant to someone that close.
Yeah.
Listening. So sometimes a little bit of distance. Yeah.
But to end up in that place to where. Because that took, even for just anything, for myself, sometimes it's still hard to say, hey, look, I need help with, not even personal stuff, just other stuff. I need help with this, or now if it's a skill set I don't know anything about, whatever. I have no problem with that. I can need help with that.
We are sort of taught, either overtly or covertly, that needing help is a sign of weakness. And the last thing I ever wanted to do is be weak. And that's not a sign of weakness. But there's that implicit, underlying, false, misguided belief that if you need help, you're weak. You can't do it by yourself. So you're not enough. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. And that's not true. But if you buy into that, and you watch enough movies, and you watch enough, and you get yourself around people that think that way, then it can get osmotically, you absorb it by osmosis. You just sort of start thinking that way. And it takes your own expansion, your own personal inner island. Things have to get bigger for you to let more people in.
The interesting mind fuck, for lack of a better word, that this has always had with me was I never had a problem driving to Toledo to learn from Bob Wall on how to squat. I didn't have a problem moving to Columbus to learn from Louis how to bench. I never had a problem asking you how to gain weight. I never had a problem. So for all these years, it's like, man, everything you need to learn, you learn in the gym, except for one of the most important fucking things that we've done our whole life that we actually did in the gym. We haven't been able to connect to be able to isn't that a mind fuck?
That's pretty well put too, Dave. Yeah, we can forget some lessons, and some lessons are hard won, and sometimes we're trying to learn something, and people are trying to teach us something, or maybe even life is trying to teach us something, and we don't want to learn it. We just don't want to learn that. And I think that, again, it takes growth to be able to accept all the lessons that we come across. And you actually get stronger when you get more people. Don't you let more people on your island? Mm-hmm. You get stronger. You get more perspective. You get more. No, they have to be trusted people, and they have to have your interest in mind. You have to have their interest in mind. And then there's that symbiotic relationship where I used to have to do everything on my own. But now I have all these people to help me. And if you take pride in doing everything yourself, then okay, you lose that pride. But if it's about getting more shit done, if that's the goal and not your personal pride, if you can let go of that ego, I do everything myself. I did this myself, I did that myself. I got a friend, I'm staying with him right now, Mike. and he bought a house, and he said, I'm going to do all this work myself. And then a couple years later, he goes, yeah, I'll be over. I just have to call the plumber. I'm like, wait a minute, weren't you the guy who was going to do everything themselves? He goes, oh, I do. I call the plumber myself. I write the check myself. He learned that success was better if he could expand than if he did everything himself.
Well, isn't like, to go back to what we started talking about, isn't trying to do everything yourself the exact same thing as trying to do non-effective reps?
It can be, right?
Where it'd be better to do the effective reps.
It would be. But then you don't get to say, I did it all by myself. Nobody helped me. I don't need any of you. And some people...
But it's the result
like me,
of the reps that we're looking for.
Well, if it is, right? If it is, why not?
Yeah.
Why not get help and summate your forces, right? And I had a big problem with that coming to Westside. I was resistant. Anna came out before me. She was a world champion, my ex-wife. Mm-hmm. And she had like 3 world championships before I had anything, maybe even a state championship. And I wanted to have this. I wanted to bench 600 without anybody's help. I wanted to do it my own way, my own thing, and I took pride in that, which is stupid now. I see, right? Because I should have just expanded my island, came out the west side. Because Lou was asking me, because Anna was there, and he's like, "Bring your," and he personally invited me many times. In fact, the day of me benching 600 in, I think it was Rootstown, Ohio, USBF meet. Lou's like, "You got to come out. You got to come out." And I'm like, I want to do this myself, and I don't know why I had that. Just ego, just plain old not putting the mission ahead of the self, putting the ego ahead of the mission. And I can say that was a mistake. I should have went out there, right away, right? And when Anna went out there, I could have went out there. Like the week that she went there, the week after, Lou was like, "Come on out." And I was so resistant to that because I thought that there was more value in doing it alone than just doing it. And there is not. 600 pounds is still 600 pounds. And perhaps I was so selfish and so self-centered that I didn't want to share it with anybody. I don't want to share this. I just want to make sure that nobody but me gets credit for, and that's such foolishness, right? And I was young, so I'll offer that as some to get some relief from that. But no, it was just purely not doing what we're talking about now. And so if someone's younger and listen to us right now, and they say like, "Yeah, I want to do it on my own. I know what he's talking about. I don't want anybody helping me. I want everybody to say he did that and he did it all himself. See that house? He built it all by himself. He didn't have a carpenter come in. He didn't have a plumber come in. He did it all." Okay, well that's something to be proud of if you have to do it that way, and if you want to do it that way, it's still okay. It's still okay to save it all up for yourself, so that you get all the credit. It's still okay, but it doesn't make the goal change. It's still 600 pounds. You still get to 600 pounds, whether you had help or whether you didn't. It's just what it is. Now you can try to say it's different, and in some ways we could argue that it maybe is or isn't. But if the goal was just to do it, if we kept the goal, then who cares if you got 2 people, 4 people, 100 people helping you? We got it done. And that's what I had to really work through. It was hard for me. Even when I came out the West Side, I was reticent, to be there. So I didn't feel like I fit in, that. But I benefited so much from that atmosphere of the constant demand for excellence. Every set, every rep, every day. You never could And it was a wonderful place to be. And so that's what this is about, this conversation right now. And we can be done with it, of course. But if someone's listening and they have that thing telling them, like I did, you got to do it on your own or it doesn't count. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
It counts. When you do it, it counts. And it doesn't matter if you had help or not. And why not get help? Why not? And you'll say to yourself, because it won't count. It won't be just me. It'll be me and I have to share it. No, it's not. Keeping the goal a goal and doing the thing does not diminish it if you get help. And apparently it took me a long time to learn that.
I think it changes the perspective on how many, because just looking from the lifting world, I joke sometimes everybody now has a coach, right? Where just this conversation over the last 5 minutes has made that actually pivot in my brain a little bit, because it's a good thing, right? Because that means there's less people that are trying to think I have to do this all on my own. Because if they're willing to reach out, even if it's an online coach, even if it's a shitty online coach that's just sent in a cut-paste program, it's pulling more people in, to be able to help with that journey.
Yeah.
Which there's different ways to look at that. Because I could also look at that and say that, it's a way to delegate what they should actually be trying to learn on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so there's different ways to look at it, and there's different ways to get something out of it. So, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm just saying that if you're shooting yourself in the foot and slowing down your own progress because your own damn ego's too big, get out of your own way. That's what I'm saying.
All right, to flip the topic a little bit, I have questions that people had submitted through our Discord server, which is a table talk group crew type of thing.
Okay.
And a lot of the things we already kind of covered, but here's one that would be, the frame of some of these questions, they're always weird to me, because it's like, if you knew then what you know now, right? So this one, though, is a little bit different because it's dealing with chronic pain, right? Because you live with chronic pain. So this is more in your recent history than past history.
Yeah.
What things do you wish you would have done earlier to be able to help? Not stop the chronic, so it's happening anyhow. The things that you've learned to kind of mitigate it that you wished you would have known earlier.
Okay. So the question is that if someone has chronic pain and they know some ways to mitigate it now, what are those things that they wish they had that would have mitigated?
Yeah, I think the context of this question is his wife may be on the starting to begin to start to go down that path.
Yeah, all right. So, okay, here's a good one for the gym. And I was saying this today, and I say it all the time now. You should be very harsh with yourself when you're training and under a bar. And you should be very gentle and comforting and soothing and nurturing to yourself when you're not. So the purpose of the training stimulus, and this goes from workout to workout, and it goes between sets. So if you can find a way to be very hard on yourself during the stimulus of the lift, of the lifting, of the sets and reps, you should be, or else you won't get the adaptation. You want to cause adaptation. You want to get stronger. So you got to be tough with yourself. You got to be hard, ruthless, merciless, maybe even. But when that set's over, you should comfort yourself. You should calm yourself. You should self-soothe. You should find things that you can do that are good for you, so that the next time the set comes up in a few minutes, you're at your best. So what can you do? You can keep yourself cool. I used to have a fan. There's these things that keep your palms and cool and keep your core temperature down in between sets, and they're very helpful to people. And perhaps music that makes you feel good or it makes you feel ready. I liked music that was super, super intense right before I lifted and while I was lifting in a gym, because you can keep your headphones on. And then I switched it right up when I was not lifting and not being harsh with myself. I was calming myself and making myself feel good, making myself feel happy with the music. And I sat down. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've started to train that squat, and they don't have a chair or a bench or anything. You squat, you're harsh, and you sit down. Get off your legs. They're walking around, they're doing stuff. I'm like, sit down. Just get off your legs. Be good to those. Let them recover, because you got another set to do. Why be doing all that? Just get off those legs. Rest them, right? I make people drink a lot in between sets. Take a swig, take a drink, get a habit. I have people, gummy bears, Skittles, something. Just something to keep the blood. You just burned up some blood sugar. Now you can put it right in, and it can be going by again, and you can put a little bit of it back. Or you cannot. Don't eat anything. Don't pick on anything, and then you won't get any back. And so that's fine, but what if between the sets, you give a little bit back, because that blood sugar is going by muscles that are working. They're going to suck some of it up. That means they have more glucose to burn on the next set, or not. Don't do that if you don't want to. But that's a comfort. It's going to help you recuperate and do better for the next set. So be hard on yourself during the set. Be good to yourself between the sets, and then be hard on yourself on the workout. And then when you go home, be good to yourself. Treat yourself well. Take care of your body. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mind. Take care of your soul. Take care of your spirit. Take care of you. Be comforting. Be like a mom to yourself. If you want this body and this thing to perform really, really well under super harsh conditions, that's what we want, then go ahead and train it that way. But then when you're not training, give it a chance. Give yourself a chance. Help yourself out a little bit. Stack the deck in your favor. Be good to yourself.
But if it's not super harsh conditions, right? So chronic pain, I wouldn't necessarily characterize as super harsh conditions. I would characterize as harsh conditions that never stops. So how do you get it to stop?
Well, so I answered that question as if I was too hard on myself all the time.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And it may have contributed to the chronic pain.
Oh, I'm sure it did. So at some point,
it as if I knew now what
I got it. Okay,
then,
no. If now
I would have been better to myself between workouts, between sets, right?
Yeah, I get it.
That was the answer to my question.
But now past that.
Okay.
Right. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the shit started on set, what would you have done different then?
To try to mitigate the pain?
Yeah. Because I'm sure there's things that you did that were not the right things.
We're going to assume that the pain that I have now came from lifting. Is that correct?
You can assume it came from anything. It could be lupus. It could be anything.
Oh, okay, so this is a question of how do I mitigate pain that I have now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
That's probably a better way to look at it.
Okay, so you talk a lot, and you should, and you're right to do this, about how you look at things and your mindset. And pain is something that is very sensitive to that. And people's perception of their pain has a lot to do with their experience of that pain. A lot to do with it. And one of the ways that morphine works, people think it blocks the pain. It does not. The pain comes right to the brain, but when it gets to the brain, it is perceived differently, and it normally is for pain. And the message gets up there. It doesn't stop. It's not an anesthetic, and it's not a nerve block. Your pain keeps coming, but now the morphine has changed the way you're going to perceive that pain. And all of a sudden, it's not so bad. It's not so bad, but it's all still there. The same signal's coming, but now in the presence of morphine, you interpret that differently. You perceive the pain differently. It all gets there. The same signal gets there. It always is. It doesn't slow that signal down or block it or mute it. It kind of feels that way because it changes how you perceive pain. And now this horribly incapacitating pain becomes, well, it's bad, but it's not so bad. It's okay. It's all right. I can deal with it. And so if that's true for a chemical intervention, there are non-chemical interventions that can change the way we perceive pain. And there's a way to practice this. I used to have migraine headaches, and they were pretty much untreatable. I had them for 2 years, and they were incapacitating. But I worked with some concepts and some ideas and some, so I'll give you one, right? One way to perhaps chemically change the way you perceive pain. And you can look these up. There's all kinds of them. There's many different drills that you practice. So you have some pain. Now, you should do this before you have the migraine or the extreme pain. But you can still practice it and try when you have the extreme pain. It's just hard to concentrate. So it's easier to concentrate on moderate to mild pain to figure out if this is something that will benefit you. But what I was taught to do, which one do I want to tell you about? Well, I'll kind of blend them together a little bit. You find the pain in your body. Is it my hand? Is it my wrist? Is it my finger? Is it my stomach? Where is it in my stomach? Where? You try to locate the pain physically, and you focus on it, and you really feel it. So you pay attention to the pain, and you feel all of it. And then what you do is you decide to create the edge. You draw the limitation of the pain. It hurts here, but it doesn't hurt here. And so if this knee hurts, I know this knee doesn't hurt. So that's too far away.
Yeah.
So you bring what hurts and what hurts when it doesn't hurt, and you try to find that line. And you draw that line, hard line. It hurts here, but it doesn't hurt here, right? And you get that as small and tight as you can, and you concentrate on that pain, and you define it clearly as you can. Some pain's throbbing, there's different kinds of pain. But you try to locate the pain and you delineate. Everything else doesn't hurt. This is what hurts. And that's helpful to begin. Because oftentimes we just know that we hurt and it just kind of hurts my whole arm. But it's not really your whole arm. Pain is probably coming from somewhere. And sometimes that's a big area, sometimes it's a small area. So you define what the area is. That's it, where it hurts. And then you mentally see if by any force of will you can begin to shrink that a little bit. Can I get this little area here that's right inside the line? Can I move the line a little smaller? And you try to shrink the area of your sensation of pain, of your perception of pain. And you get it as small as you can. And then you let it, and you stop focusing on trying to see how small you can get it, and you just let it be whatever it is. Then you do it again, You start just to do that. Then you do the opposite. You take the pain, and this is what we kind of do, and it's this much pain, but we start to magnify it. I feel terrible, and it gets bigger than it has to be. And we do that naturally, but this time you do it on purpose. So after you practice trying to shrink it, like the actual space that you perceive it hurting on your body, and then you try to see if you can make it spread out and maybe even diffuse, and you see if it can, and you can make yourself perceive it a little smaller, and you can make it feel bigger too. And so you play with this little bit of control in your perception. You're not controlling the pain. You're not controlling the source of the pain either, but you're having some control over this whole process. And by doing that, by concentrating on the control that you have, you can at least get it to a small place. And so practicing with your pain, practicing how you perceive your pain is one step. And then there are other steps. And one that I think is fascinating, I thought it was bullshit, but it worked for me. So this all happens up here. This isn't happening. You're not fixing your pain. You're changing the way you perceive your pain. And so one other thing that I thought was super good for me, at least, is you find the pain, you locate it, you think about it, you determine how bad it really is. How bad is it really? Because sometimes we perceive a little bit of pain and we catastrophize it. It becomes bigger than it has to be. And so you say, how bad does this have to be? If I'm going to accurately feel it, so I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to accurately feel how bad it actually is. I'm not going to let it run away with itself down a hill. I'm going to be honest and accurate, and okay, this is how much it really hurts. So you find it, you accurately measure it as best you can. It's your perception, it's your pain. Nobody else can feel it. Then you color it. You close your eyes and you feel your pain as a color. And it will have a color. It will just have one. It's like you're perceiving it, you know where it is, you know how much it is. What color is that pain? Now this is all abstraction. There's no color to pain, right? But it will present itself as some color. For lots of people. Maybe not for everybody. For me it did. And then what you do is you simply try to change it to a better color, whatever that means. So if you have red's a popular one because pain, red, burning, fire. And so people see it as red. And then what would be a preferable color? Well, maybe blue. Cool, right? And so you see if you can change that color. Now you're paying attention to the pain, you've got it defined, and you've got it measured. It's not going to get more or less. You know what it is. You're paying attention to that, and you're being honest with yourself. I'm in pain, and again, this is much easier to do with mild to moderate pain, to play with it like this. But these are things that people do, and that people have said worked, and I have had it work quite a bit. You define it, you feel it, you color it, you let it, you notice its color, and then you decide on a color that would be better for you, that would somehow not be as painful, or it wouldn't be the same at least. And you actively try to imagine that pain in blue. And you make it blue. And you work, it's effort, and you imagine it as blue, and you start to perceive it as blue. And again, you chose blue because you thought that would be less. And then when you can see it really blue and not any red, and you're there and it's blue, you ask yourself, all right, is it more or less? Do I perceive it as more or less than red? And oftentimes it will be less for many people. And that's just a mental gymnastic maneuver that takes a lot of effort and a lot of concentration. That helps a lot of people. And it diminishes the pain. And some people can make it into a color that has no pain at all. And I had some success with about 8 migraines that I had, where I could get rid of them without any medication at all. I had 8 legitimate registered successes with that. And then sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't concentrate. You let it go too far and you can't concentrate. But sometimes I had full-blown migraines and was able, and 8, I know the number, right? And perhaps it was more because I tried many times, but I know for sure 8 times I was able to take nothing and get rid of the migraine. So you could say, well, JM, that's all in your head. And I'll be like, yes, it is. It's all in my head, right? So who cares, right? Who cares? So one way to deal with chronic, say, arthritis or something, or joint pain or muscle pain, is to be accurate about it and know how to manipulate it. And so you might not be able to concentrate all day long to keep your pain away. But if you get good at this and it helps you and you practice it and it becomes a practice of yours, you can take a moment and get a little bit of relief and then go back to work and it'll start to hurt again. And then you can take a moment 2 or 3 or 4 hours later and try to lower it a notch, a level, a step. Maybe you can even get rid of it. So there are people that say they can get rid of any pain. And there's people that say they know how to not feel the pain in the first place and all that. I didn't get that far, of course, but this understanding of how pain is not just pain and you have to suffer it, but pain is a perception of something, and you can change your perception. And practicing changing your perception is just like practicing changing your mindset in the gym. They're not very different. And we just don't think to ourselves that we can change the way we perceive pain. But that's what morphine does. It just changes perception. Now, anesthetics and analgesics, they change the signal. But this is different. This is something that we use for pain mitigation all the time. It works on the same principle. One's just you do nothing and you sit there and let the chemical do all the work. And one, you try to create these chemicals in your brain, which you can do. We have endorphins and enkephalins that are natural morphines. And that's what I think is being released when people learn how to do this. They learn how to release a little of their own morphine, and it's not so bad.
The color thing is really interesting to me because I don't think I've ever told anybody this before, but every injury I've ever had, I gave it a name.
Yeah,
right?
Same.
Yeah, I did. So like the hamstring would be like John, right? Or Bob or whatever it was. And then when I forgot its name, I knew I was done with it. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. And these just minor pulls and stuff like that. Now other things, like Bob, my main pec tear, right? Bob I'm going to remember forever because it was a big pec tear. But Steve, my shoulder, kicks the shit out of Bob, right? So now I got an enemy, right? So now I have something to kind of, but it's interesting to me because it's not the color thing. But it kind of is the same thing because with the minor things or the things that I thought might be big, any muscle pull, especially when you're a little bit younger, it's like, oh shit, your lat pulls or tricep tears just a little bit. You're like, oh shit, this is a big deal. I'm like, okay, this is just John. And then after a while, I'm like, I can't remember what the hell its name was.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess I'm over that one. Now the ones I still remember the name of, I'm probably not over.
But just changing the name of it or giving it a name is another way to perceive it.
Well, it gave me an enemy too. It's like I have to fight this, right? So it was but it is the same.
You changed the perception of it. It wasn't just pain; it was Bob.
Yeah.
And you probably ascribed some sort of face or
it did
properties.
It was whoever was spotting on that side at the time.
You changed how you perceive. You shifted how you were perceiving the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be super useful. Now, I think that these techniques that I said about are much more.
It's different because it's chronic stuff.
Available to short-term pain than chronic. But with the chronic pain, which was the question, I suppose.
Yeah.
With the chronic pain, perhaps you can get a moment or two, 40 minutes of relief or reduction with no chemicals or anything like that, just by the way you decide to perceive it. And if you can really change the way you perceive it, perhaps you can perceive that it's not painful at all. And there's I'll admit I have not looked up the any data on this, studies on this, but that's easy enough to test. If people practice reperceiving their pain, does that actually release endorphins into their brain? I bet it does. I was just guessing at that, but that's easy enough to test. But there would be reason to believe in a physical process that is chemical that is helping us do this. And so if we can release it ourselves, or we can trigger it and say, I need more of that, I need more of that, then it's just like taking a morphine pill. But you don't have to take a pill, you make it.
With that chronic pain, however we wanted to define that, how much low-hanging fruit is there? Like, if you get better sleep, will that help? If your nutrition's better, will that help?
I don't know. But I do know this about chronic pain. You begin to desensitize to it.
Yes.
So the promise is, as long as it doesn't get worse, as long as the thing that's causing the pain doesn't get worse, you get better at coping with it. You get better at ignoring it. You get better at reperceiving it all by yourself. As time goes by, and if it doesn't progress, it's sort of not so bad anymore.
That's why I asked that, is because with the issues that I've had that are always there, I got desensitized over a period of time. Sleep made no fucking difference. Hydration made no fucking difference. Nothing made any difference. From all those things, it didn't matter. Hell, even exercise to a certain point made no difference. It was just time.
So any constant stimulus, like if you take your finger and you run it on your skin over and over and over, constant stimulus. Just this, you can do it in 15 minutes. The body will desensitize to it. For example, if you put socks on in the morning, you feel them immediately, but they're constantly there. By the time at night, you don't feel them anymore. And you take them off, and then you feel that they're not there. So a hat on your head. Do you ever have your hat on your head and go looking for it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that when you first put it on, you feel it, it's on there. It's there. And
Keys in your pocket.
And your and your body's getting that constant stimulus. So any constant stimulus, the body will begin to ignore. It becomes a given. And it's the same way with pain. Now, the problem is that something is causing the pain, and oftentimes it doesn't stay the same. The cause doesn't stay the same. But if the cause does stay the same, you can probably count on it not hurting as much next year as it does this year. But that's not much help. I don't think.
It is though, because I think that if it's somebody new to it, that's coming into it, they probably don't understand the desensitization. I can't even say that right.
You did.
Because I remember Louis telling me at a certain point, when with certain things, he's like, over a period of time, you just forget about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I didn't get it. No, I do now, but I didn't get it. Like, how do you just forget about this? Like, it doesn't stop. Like, how do you just forget? Well, I think that those new won't know that, and then those other things of targeting is what I would call it, in on the pain. Like, where is it exactly?
Yeah.
The color thing's a new one to me, but that's interesting, very interesting, because it's just another way to perceive it.
I didn't think it would ever work, but for me, it did.
Yeah. This question here is kind of off topic from the other things, where this lifter is having a hard time, with the floor press converting over to their bench press.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the only context that we have.
All right.
So I assume both are being trained somewhat intelligently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the question?
How if the floor press is not having correspondence to their bench press, how could they get better correspondence out of the floor press to their bench press? Where the simple answer would be to find a different exercise.
That is the simple answer. Yeah, that's the solution. So they must love the floor press. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. You can love the floor press, but if it's in service to the goal, and we keep the goal of bench pressing, you don't have to do any floor presses at all. right?
Yeah.
So there must be some reason that you should have a reason for wanting to do the floor press.
Now I'll flip it and say, how did you get the floor press to have correspondence to your bench?
I used the floor press as a tricep training. I did not do floor press with competition grip. I didn't do it as a bench press. I did it as a tricep exercise. So I did it all narrow. So how it corresponded to my bench press was...
Define narrow for those that won't know.
I was about 15 inches. So 2 fingers on the smooth, 2 fingers on the... but you could go a little narrower if you wanted more.
But 2 fingers on the smooth, right? Because people today will call narrow pinky on the rings.
Yeah, okay. Well, no. Okay, so 15, 12, 13, 14, 15. You can move in more. The more you move in, the more triceps. But I did want it to relate back to the bench press. So if you go too narrow, the stroke isn't right at all, and the time is wrong. So that was good for me. And then again, I'm not going to argue if somebody wants to go 1 finger out, and I move people in and out. So you can do that, but you don't want it to be another shoulder chest exercise because you're already benching. So I never used the floor press as a straight bench press builder. I use it as a tricep builder, and strong triceps build bench press. So that's how I personally used it. And I did it with chains. So what I use my setup on a floor press, and this is I think you should be able to justify why you did whatever. So here's why I did what I did. Training heavy bench really puts a lot of strain on the shoulders. And training heavy tricep pressing movements like close grip bench press, etc., also put a lot of. So I wanted to find a way to get a lot of tricep heavy without a lot of shoulder. So if I did bench on Sunday, triceps on Wednesday, and they were both in the at some point they were both over 500 pounds for training reps. That's like twice a week I'm benching. That's hard to recover from that. It can be done, I suppose, but I struggle with that. So I wanted to minimize shoulder stress. So I went to the floor and had them nice and wide, spread out, and super supported. And then as the weight came down, the chains took a lot of the load off. So the beginning of the bench press, the beginning of the stroke is shoulder, and the end of the stroke is triceps. So if I were to take the weight off where the shoulders are mostly involved, that would be good for them. And if I were to be able to get that weight back on where the elbow is involved, that would be good. And the chains do that. So the choice of the floor press with chains was to minimize the shoulder stress, but still get the stroke of a press, and it has a little bit of involvement and timing and feel of a press instead of just a single joint motion. And the load and the work would be up on the elbow. When the shoulder begins the motion, and the elbows can't do anything because they would just go this way.
Yeah.
And so when you get to here, it shifts from shoulders to elbows. And that's when all the chains are picked up off the ground. And that's when the load goes to the triceps. And so I did floor press in that manner for that reason. And that's why I did them with in that manner for that reason with the chains and a narrow grip. So you put floor press, chains, narrow grip, it becomes tricep with much less stress on the shoulder. How does that convert back to bench press? Well, you got the gentleman here today, Jordan, he had a high lockout sticking point, as did I. So it was perfect for me. That's where I needed a lot of strength and work. And the bar is moving, it feels like live weight. And so that's how I did it. I don't think there's any, I would be interested to hearing somebody justify why they wanted to use floor press to convert back to bench press. Now it does and it can, but if they're having trouble with it, what you said stands. Don't do it. Don't convert it back.
Did you ever issues with bicep tendonitis?
Never.
Why do you think so?
Maybe from the bodybuilding days, training biceps like crazy, because every bodybuilder wants bigger biceps more than anything in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And I trained a lot of heavy, strong biceps. So perhaps that's why. I don't know. I never had a problem with it, so I don't know why I didn't have a problem with it. That's as good a guess as any.
Yeah.
You know, I did a lot of heavy bicep work because I don't believe, yeah. So that might be the answer, but I don't have an answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why didn't
No, I get it.
I
I know I get it, because I have certain things that I didn't have problems with.
Yeah,
I
don't know much about those things. I don't really know, because I didn't have to figure them out and fix them.
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about that. Sorry.
This one I'm not sure what they're really asking here. Do you have a visual aid for your current goals? And I think where they're going with this is they're going back to where visual aids that you had before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they might be talking about vision boards.
Yeah.
You know, people make those and they put pictures of what they want on the board and stuff. For my current goals, I do not. Because my current goals are, well, the goal that I have right now, that I want to get better and better and better and better at. I don't know that there's a visual thing I could use for it. I could co-opt any symbol, like a heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's a heart, and that means, for me, that means this.
Mm-hmm.
So I could create a symbol that focuses my attention, but I don't have one. But let's talk about what my goal is now in life. And this might be off topic, but I'm going to throw it in there anyways, because you talk about my current goal. My current goal is to love anybody around who is there to accept that love. To be kind to anybody near enough to me to be kind to. To be compassionate to anybody in the area, in range. If anybody comes in range, I want to be good and kind and considerate and decent to them. And if I can love them, I'll try. Love is a high bar, but common decency is a low bar. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be decent to people. And then what this has done for me is I had a year-long wrestling match with an idea that a Zen teacher had given to me. And she said, it is easy for us to show kindness and compassion for the victims. That's easy. But it's hard to show compassion and kindness for the perpetrators. So what do we do? And I wrestled with this hard. And what got in my way, and my biggest stumbling block, was my solid sense of justice and right and wrong and merit and fairness. It's not really fair, Dave, for me to be kind to the rape victim and a rapist. But it's easy to be kind and loving to the rape victim. Very hard because of justice. Because it would be unjust to show kindness to both of them in the same measure. However, and I wrestled with this, and I had people online and from Israel, and I got a guy that I train who's been to Harvard Divinity School, and we talk about these things and we work through them, and I'm really trying to be compassionate to everybody. But I hope we don't have that tornado day.
It's raining hard.
Yeah, but it is hard to do. And I couldn't find a way to feel right about it. Because I feel right about, like, look, you deserve my kindness because you had this, and you deserve me to punch you in the throat. You deserve my derision and my perhaps even hatred because you earned it. You deserve it. You get what you get. Eye for an eye, golden rule, all that fairness and justice. And I wrestled with it for a year until I came upon this quote. And that quote, again, Vonnegut, by the way. I went on a Vonnegut binge. I read everything that he wrote last summer because I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And this is one reason why I wanted to read what he said. It changed my life. It's my goal in life now, to be kind to anybody who comes in range. If you come close enough to me, if you can get yourself close to them, you can expect kindness and common decency, no matter what you've done. Even if you treat me unkindly, I'm going to treat you with kindness, and I'll tell you why in a second. Let me give you the quote. The quote is, the purpose of a human life is to show is to show love to anybody around that can take that love or is there to be loved. And so if we are to elevate kindness above justice, so I care more about being kind because I want to be a kind man. I haven't always been a kind man. I haven't always been a loving man. I didn't understand perhaps how to love anybody well or correctly or properly. So I want to be kind. This is my goal. My goal is I want to be a kind man. I want to be a good man. I want to be a decent man. I want to be a compassionate man. So I can't act unkindly and be a kind man, because acting unkindly makes you an unkind person. Only acting with kindness lets you be a kind person. So if you are unkind to me, and I want to be a kind man, I'm not going to be unkind to you. I'm going to be kind to you anyway. And now, since I have said I care more about kindness than justice, it doesn't matter if you're kind to me or unkind to me, I'm going to be kind to you. Not because I want that kindness to do anything for you. I don't care what you do. I don't give a shit what you do with my kindness. I'm going to be kind to you because I want to be a kind man. And you can take that kindness or you can leave that kindness. But that's what you'll get from me if you get close to me. Nowadays, I'm imagining right now people in my past hearing me say stuff like this and going, what a bullshitter. He wasn't like that. But I'm trying to be like that now. So the deal is this. What goes wrong? How does the world go off the rails? How does everything fall apart if I happen to be kind to someone that doesn't deserve kindness? It's not fair. It's not just. It's not even right. But what if I do? What if you're unkind to me and I'm kind to you anyway? What goes wrong? What happens? How does the world fall apart? Nothing happens. Nothing bad happens. I'm wrong. I'm unjust. It's unfair that I do that. But so what? So what? So what? And this now, by elevating kindness above justice and fairness and right and wrong, I'm done with all the judgment. I don't care if you've been good or bad. I may not be able to forgive you or love you. That's a high bar. But I can be kind to you, and I can be compassionate to you, and I can try to love you. Forgiveness is a different thing, and real love is a different thing. But I'm going to try, because I want to be a loving man. I want to be a forgiving man. But what I'm going to hold myself to is kindness. I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to have common courtesy towards you, whether you just raped someone or not. Now, what happens if I show kindness to a rapist? What happens? Does that help him rape other people? Does that forgive him? Does that let him off the hook of his consequences? Nope. I just treat him that way. And it's wrong. It's unjust. It's unfair. All that shit. But now I don't have to judge anybody ever again. I'll let that happen. Somebody else can judge you. I'm going to treat everybody out of the gate. If they're close enough to me, even if they're horrible to me, I'll be like, okay, you can be a horrible person, but I'm not going to be a horrible person. I want to be a kind person, so I'm going to be kind in the face of your horribleness to me. Now, it takes an emotionally strong person to do that, turn the other cheek shit. I mean, a weak person can't even take the first blow. They're too weak. But a strong man can take one blow and go, hey, all right, you can hit me again. Emotionally, that's the same thing. So when you become emotionally strong enough, you can do this. Weak emotional people cannot. They're going to return a hurt for a hurt. Because you hurt me, and I was that guy. Because that was my principle, that was right, that was fair, that was just. I was that guy. I even hurt people on purpose because they hurt me. I want you to feel bad now too, in the same measure. I never tried to hurt anybody worse than they hurt me. I just wanted to give them back fair, just, meritorious, equitable. But now, I don't have to do any of that. I don't even think about it. I just go around being kind. I know people are going to hear this and think about who I was, and they're going to be like, that guy's full of crap. He's lying. He's trying to make himself look good. Nope.
My only question that I have is, why?
So I want to be a kind person.
Why?
I want to live that way. I want to feel like that instead of a miserable, hateful, spiteful, angry, revengeful, vengeful person who does bad to people. I want to do good to people. I want to be kind instead of unkind. Simple as that. And then what you do, I'm not being kind with you because I think it's going to change your life and fix you. And you were bad to me, and I was kind to you, and you're going to go, oh my God, that changes my life. I'm going to be that way too. Why was I being so unkind to them? If that happens, fine. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to be kind.
How much of an inner battle does this become?
Zero. Because the battle happens at justice and fairness and decisions. I don't have any decision to make. None. Now, here's I do have a decision. I take that back. My decision is to live my purpose, which is to love anybody who's around to be loved. That's my purpose. I can choose not to fulfill my purpose in life. You can be mean to me and I can punch you in the throat or spit in your face. Or give you back in kind.
But there's still, let's say something happens, that natural reaction, the first natural reaction is going to need your internal reaction to negate that.
I've been tested.
That's the inner battle I'm talking about.
I've been tested. I have been severely tested.
Yes.
I've been physically attacked. I've been tested. I've been insulted. And so far so good. So far so good. Perhaps I'll have a horrible relapse and be a bad person and be an unkind person and give unkindness back for unkindness. That can happen. And I can choose to do that even still. But man, this is a way to be free of all the judgment of other people. They want to be good, they want to be bad, that's fine. It's not going to affect me. I want to be good, I want to be kind, so I'm going to be kind. Even if they don't deserve it. And I'll admit that perhaps is what someone will see. Well, that's a mistake. You fucked up. You didn't give them back what you should have gave them back. All right, you do it then. You go be unkind to them. That's fine. If you want to do that, go give them what they deserve. They do deserve it. I'm agreeing with you. They deserve somebody to knock them down because they're an asshole. But it ain't going to be me. I'm going to treat them with courtesy. I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to encourage them. I'm just going to treat them with kindness. And I saw a shirt that somebody was selling. It said, be kind. And then on the back it said something like, because everyone you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about.
Hence my question, why? Right? Because to be kind to others, is going to insinuate that you're going to have to that you have to be kind to yourself.
Well, maybe, perhaps, maybe that would be something. But I'm not doing it.
I get that. Yeah,
I am doing it for me.
Yeah,
I've chosen how I want to be and who I want to be, and I have a lot to say about that. And let me give you something else to think about that is just antithetical to what we're taught and what we adhere to with vengeance and right and wrong and the law and pay the price for your sins and all that. I'll let somebody figure all that out and punish you for your sins, but it ain't going to be me. I'm not going to let you off the hook. I still think that you should, if you rape somebody, you should pay the consequences. But I don't have to mistreat you because of that. I will still be in agreement that you should have to pay the price, and you should have to, whatever that price is. But I'm not the administrator of that vengeance and that rightness. There's rules and there's laws and there's people that do that. That is their job. My job isn't that. My job is to be who I want to be in life, and I want to be a kind person. And the forgiveness thing is different, right? I'm working on that too. But this is where I'm at right now. And so it stands to reason in this fairness thing that if you hurt me and I hurt you back the exact same amount, then we're even. The world's even, right?
Yeah, that's not how it works.
If I hurt you back, it isn't, right? If I hurt you back more than you hurt me, then we're going to escalate, right?
Yeah.
But if seems fair, sounds equitable, sounds just. You steal $5 from me, I steal $5 from you. Sounds right. Sounds like things are even, but they're not. Like you said, they're not. You saw that quickly. They're not. Now the world has seen two people steal $5. And there's been $10 stolen. So if you steal $5 from me and I really care about making the world equal, I need to give you $5. Now the world is equal. Someone has stolen $5 and someone has given $5. And that sounds crazy, but that's the way you have to work if you want to bring the world back to equal. So you hurt me, I don't hurt you back. That's twice the hurt in the world. You hurt me, I'll do something good for you, you asshole. But I get to be the person that gives. I get to be the person that, and maybe one day I can forgive everybody too. But I get to be the person that is kind in the face of kindness and unkindness. So my reaction doesn't change. If you're kind to me, you can certainly expect me to be kind back to you. And if you're unkind to me, you can absolutely expect me to be kind back to you, because I'm just going to be kind. And now I don't have to worry about any of that stuff where you got to figure out whether I should be kind to them or not. And I struggled with this for a year. I told you, with that Zen teacher. A year I tried to figure out, how do we do that? How do we be kind? And there's all kinds of Zen answers for that, like we are all one person, and when you're kind to another person, you're kind to yourself. And that may all be true and it may not be. But this instantly got me out of all that. I don't have to think about any of that. I'm just gonna be like, do you want to be a kind person or an unkind person? All right, I'd like to be a kind person. Well, then you can't do unkind things, because that makes you an unkind person. Do you want to be a loving person or a hateful person? Well, then you can't do hateful things. You have to do loving things to be a loving person. Do you want to be a compassionate person or an uncompassionate person? Well, you can't do uncompassionate things. You have to show compassion if you want to be a compassionate person. And that's just the person I've chosen to be. I'm not saying it's right. In fact, I'm saying it's not right. I'm saying I'm unjustly kind.
See, I would say it's hard to define, right? Because a lot of people that may perceive something as an unkind thing may not even have been intended as an unkind thing.
Doesn't matter.
Right, so you see what I'm saying?
No, I don't, because in my case, I don't, because if it's kind or unkind, I respond the same. I don't have to determine if they meant to be kind or not unkind. I'm beyond all that. It's so freeing. It's so easy. Whatever you do, Dave, I'm going to try to be kind to you. That's my mission in life. That's my goal in life. This was a question, right? What's your goal? Mm-hmm. That's my goal.
And then how do you quantify it?
Every day, I get a chance to either do it or not do it. So far, since I've made this, I've had this understanding, I've been practicing it. And so far, about a year, maybe. Yeah, a little over a year now. So far, I don't think I'll ever get mad again, Dave. I don't think I will, because people have tried to make me mad. And people have given me every reason to get mad. But I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be angry. I want to be peaceful and kind. So I can't get angry if I want to be peaceful and kind. And whatever you do, guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. Dave, if I want to love you, you can't stop me. You can try to stop me. You can hate me. You can throw things at me. I've had physical altercation. But you can't stop me. Because that's on me. That's who I want to be. And now all that shit that I had to wrestle with and work with and my whole life and religion and, you know, what they teach you in kindergarten, the golden rule and, you know, all that stuff. Man, that was a lot of work. And I don't do any of that work anymore. So whether you intend to be kind and it turns out unkind, or whether you intend, whatever you intend has nothing to do with me. And it also has nothing to do with me what you do with my kindness. I would hope that helps you. But that's not, I'm not doing it to help you. I'm doing it to be who I want to be and behave in the way I want to behave. And believe me, this is God damn, do I wish I had figured this out sooner. Because I hurt a lot of people. A lot of people that perhaps didn't even deserve to be hurt. I wouldn't hurt them now. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I don't think. Perhaps we'll find out that this is an untenable belief. Having someone crashes my world down. But so far, nope. And every day that I can do it, even if it does crash down occasionally, under certain special circumstances, most of my life is going to end, for the rest of my life, this is how I'm going to try to do it. And now I don't have to worry about religion or anything, because I'm not doing it for a reward. I'm not doing it to obey anything. I'm doing it by choice. I know we're a long way from working out and all this, but we're not. Because happy people, I just put this on my Instagram, happy people train harder. Happy people are more successful. Now, you don't have to be happy to be successful, but happy people train harder, and they have a different experience becoming successful. Fall in love and see if you don't train harder. See if you don't come in here with tons of energy and tons of, oh man, the world is awesome and I can do anything. Be hateful and angry and miserable and come in here. And then you're at war. Then you're in a battle zone.
Well, that would contradict all those people that say you have to train angry. That it is war, it is a battle.
They're just under a misapprehension.
How so?
They don't understand this. You don't have to hate every step. You can love every step. There's no advantage. Remember, the goal is the goal. I want to lift 600 pounds. You can hate your way to it. I'm not going to. I'm going to love my way to it. I love working out. You're doing it out of discipline and perhaps even some self-loathing and punishing yourself and pounding away at it. There's people out there that do that. There's people out there that do amazing things because they hate themselves. And they're always out to try to prove something. And they are remarkably successful over and over and over again. They still hate themselves. They still don't have any self-worth. And no matter how many 100-mile races they do, they still got to prove it. They still don't accept themselves. They still don't feel that they're worthy. They're still trying to beat that bitch inside of them. And I'm not going to be a bitch. And I'm going to... Don't be a bitch. Get up early. Do this, do that, do that. Okay, that's one way to be super, super fantastically successful. I'm not saying you can't be successful that way. Lots of people have come in here and fought the war against the weight. I promise you, Dave, the weight is not for or against you. There's no war. The weight doesn't care. It's gravity. It weighs 100 pounds whether you're lifting it or whether it's sitting on the floor. And it could care less about you. The war that you're having is inside yourself. Doesn't have to be a war. Why be at war with yourself and come in here and do battle when you can be on your own side? And be on your own side and be rooting for yourself. And come in here and be like, we can do it, we can do it. Yeah, I can do it, I can do it. Why do it the other way? You can do it the other way. People do. They're wildly successful. Perhaps even more successful than me. Okay, that's fine. Do it that way. Live in that world of battle and strife. That's fine. You can still be very successful. Good for you. I reject that. You don't have to do it that way. That's not the only way. I have a good friend that does it that way.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fucking, he loves when something shitty happens to him because that brings out his best.
It's fuel.
Yeah. He gets fuel from being knocked down. He wants to show people I can do it. Hey, you tell me something I can't do and I'll show you. All right, well, now you just did it for me then. You didn't do it for you. Good for you. You did it, but you didn't do it for yourself. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about doing it? Well, I got to go run another 100-mile race. That's how I feel about it. I don't feel any better about that. If I do it for myself, it is its reward. I am rewarded. I am satisfied. I do feel good. I do get some serotonin. I felt good. I did that. That's good. I like doing it too. I like to do it again. It felt so good. I'd like to do it again. So I choose to run another race. I'm not. I don't mean to be derisive of anybody else's process. I'm just saying that I've found this process to be different. I won't say better, but I think it's better. But I won't say that. I shouldn't say that because I don't know what other people's experience is. I know what my experience is. And I've done it both ways. And they're both successful. But man, one way is a better way to live for me. I want to live this way. So that's where those choices come in. There's not one way to get to the top of the mountain. But you go the hard way, good for you. That's all right. There's an experience you're going to have that I'm not going to have. Doing it the hard way. But when we get to the top, if you just get to the top and you don't feel any different, you're still angry, you're still upset, you're still a bitch inside to yourself. And I'm at the top going, look at this view. We made it, man. We're up here. We did it. Could you believe that we would ever make it this far? This is awesome. What a life. What an opportunity. And you got to go find another bigger mountain. Now, I may go to a higher mountain too. But I'm going there because I want to see what the view's like. You're going there because you got to punish yourself or hurt. Yeah, I don't want to be derisive. So there.
Yeah.
I've said enough, I suppose. And I don't want to take away anybody who's getting energy and good results out of the battle and fighting away, and I'm going to fucking beat you.
The only thing I would push back on is climbing the mountain's going to be hard either way because you're climbing up.
You got to do it. You got to get there. You got to
so,
lift that. You got to lift that.
One way's not
pounds.
easier than the other way. They're both still going to be hard.
Really? One's not easier? Okay, I'll agree to that. But I will say this. Will you agree to this? I'll agree to that. They're the same difficulty.
Same adversities, same things that you're going to have to overcome.
But are they? When you look at you're getting ready for a marathon, you got to go out and run 15 miles today. And you're going to use discipline. And you're not going to let yourself be a bitch. And you're going to go out and do it. And you're going to make yourself do it. And you will do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go out because I love running. I love being out there. I love lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're both going to run our 15 miles. Was one easier? Did one of us have an easier time of it or not? I don't use discipline anymore. I use passion. Discipline runs dry. Everybody runs out of discipline at some point. Some people seem like they don't, but maybe one day they will. I don't know. There's a few people, but there's so few I can just round them down to zero.
Well, I think where the false assumption would be made is on one side that every session is going to be driven by aggression, and on the other side, every session is going to be loved. where that's not the case in reality.
It's not.
If there's still 8,000 sessions that have to be done before you get to the top of the mountain, the majority of those just have to be done because they have to be done. In other words,
No.
the person.
No, well, maybe I don't understand what you're saying, and that's why I'm saying no. But the weights that what is necessary to get us somewhere is always necessary. Agreed. I think
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
There is you have to lift 350 before you lift 375. You have to lift 3.
And you're not
75
always
before
going to
400.
want to. On either side of the mountain, you're not always going to want to.
Well, you can have. So if all you have is discipline, and you don't have this love. So people that have passion for something, they love to do it, don't lack for discipline.
Yeah.
It's not like I traded all my discipline away.
Yeah.
When I learned to love doing what I'm doing, I didn't give any of it up. I still have it all. And so on days when you perhaps don't feel like doing it, it's a good time to employ that discipline that you still have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Agreed. Yeah.
Is that.
But generally speaking, discipline will run out at some point. There's some time you're going to ask, and the harder thing that you want to do, the more opportunity for that discipline to run dry.
So I would say the love for training is going to run out too. I mean, if you're on this 10-year
well, I don't
journey.
know about that. I don't know about that. If you're passionate about something, I don't know any limit to desire. I don't know any limit to love. I don't know any limit that I've ever heard of that would say that that's true. There's no limit to passion and love and desire. You can love more and more and more. You can be more and more and more passionate all the time. You can want something more and more and more and more. But you can't increase your discipline indefinitely, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, Dave, I was wrong once back in 1988, and I might be wrong someday again. So I might be wrong right now. So everybody should take this, what I'm saying, with a grain of salt.
Well, what I'm saying is there's a
correct
balance of the two.
You're correct about when we're talking about black and white.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just leaning towards like what's going to be the predominant voice.
Okay.
Right? Is it that frustration driven part, or is it the happiness love part? That, I completely agree with that. It's definitely the happiness love part is going to take you way
I want to spend more
further.
time there.
Yeah.
Going to a workout and walking out of it going, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Then I got the shit beat out of me in there today.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I want more of that and less of the other.
But when that's not there, discipline may need to be what keeps it going.
Sure. Why not? Why not have more than one tool in your toolbox?
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know a lot of people. So we can't. I think what you're saying is the same thing that I would say and agree with you as. That when we try to do it all one way or all one other way, we're missing out on a lot of tools that might come in handy one day.
Yeah.
And probably use the tool that's appropriate for that day.
Then I think you lean more into what you enjoy the most and maybe not so much in what you should be doing to help you get better. Thus, going back to when we were talking about the recovery modalities. They love the training, they'll do the training, but yet they don't love the recovery stuff.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at here. There are certain things that are hard to do.
Yes.
And certain things we don't like to do. And we are not passionate about.
Yeah, yes.
That are necessary.
Yes.
Good, Dave, good point. And I agree with you completely. That's correct. But again, the necessary things to get to a goal are the necessary things. If you and I want to drive to Cleveland from here, we have to eventually get to Cleveland, and there are certain necessary turns. Now we can wander around a bit, but at every point, if we ever want to get to Cleveland, we have to do what's necessary to get to Cleveland ultimately.
Yes.
But there's a straighter line than others, and there's a more scenic route than others.
Well, there's GPS now too.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying about,
of course,
trying to. Here, I'll put it this way. Your experience of getting to where you want to be, to the top of the mountain, is different depending on the course you take.
Yeah. Yeah, I buy that. Yeah.
Right? And that's, I guess, what I'm saying. I want to take a course that is most likely to get me all the way there, and it's a course of enjoying what I'm doing and being passionate and really wanting to be there, than any other course. I'm going to try to find that route to the top.
I think if we look through athletics and strength sports and all that wisdom's there, because almost all of them say, looking back, I wish I would have enjoyed the journey a little more.
I say that.
Right? So
I say that.
That's just having that
time to.
Yeah. And so whatever that next journey is, we know going into it.
Yeah. And none of these things mean that when you get to the top of the mountain, you don't go look for a higher mountain. That happens, right? There's no. I don't want to give anybody the impression that they might worry that they'll get to the top of the mountain and then not want any more out of life. There's always another goal. There's always a higher mountain. And you can choose to do it because of love, or you can choose to do it for all kinds of other reasons. But the path that you are on and the experience that you have on that path, the things that you see, the people that you meet, the conditions of that journey are different if you're in a place of passion, and it's easier to put up with adversity and pain and disappointment if you're passionate about something than if you're not. It just is. And if you're using discipline to get over every adversity, you're using discipline to get
well, then you don't want it
you're
enough if that's the
discipline.
Case.
You're
That's
right.
how I would
You don't
say
have
it.
enough desire.
Yeah.
That's right, David.
Yeah.
Exactly correct. And so you'll run out of discipline using it for everything. Using it for everything. It's a good thing to have. I mean, I still develop discipline with my people. I'm a fan of discipline. I don't want anybody.
No. It's a necessary tool when needed.
But it's not as strong as some other tools.
Yeah.
Other tools. So you could use a hammer, or you could use a sledgehammer, or you could use a jackhammer. I mean, there's better tools.
Yeah.
And I am of the opinion, and we'll just say it's my opinion, and leave it at that. And you're free to disagree with it, anybody. It's my opinion that the stronger tool for getting somewhere that you want to go is to love it.
Oh, of course.
And to be passionate about it and be committed to it. And here's what I think goes wrong. People set goals and they don't attain them. Not necessarily because they lack discipline, but because they lack passion. Why do they lack passion? Because they selected a goal in the beginning that they really, really don't want. They don't have enough desire for it. You said desire, not enough desire. Yeah. They're like, I want this. I want to bench 500. And they're benching 250. So they can get there, right? And then when they get to about 430 and they still have 70 pounds to go, it gets hard. And they just think to themselves, I'm benching 430. It's pretty good. I said I wanted to be 500-pound bencher, but I'm at 430, and man, it's going to be hard to go to those other 70 pounds, because every 20 pounds it got a lot harder, and I got 70 pounds to go, and I can expect it to be very, very hard. Do I have enough desire to cover that? Do I have enough discipline to cover that? Well, if they don't have the desire, it's going to be very hard to come up with discipline at that point, to make themselves do something that they really don't want to have to finish that goal. And a lot of people drop their goal.
I think another reason why a lot of people drop their goal to stay in the strength sports realm is they forget why they started it in the first place. So you go into the gym because they want to get stronger. Just because they want to get stronger. Then they start training, and then the moment they start to become serious about training, they love getting stronger, making progress. Then they might go to a local meet. Then they hit a little PR. And they love the fact that they hit this local PR. That's why they started. That's the journey. That's what pulled them in. Now, 8-10 years later, they're caught up into this federation, that federation, this judging sucks, this is bullshit. They're caught up into these top 1% drama, political crap that pulls them away from why they actually started. Where in some cases it would, because you get to a point where all you do is go to top meets. You were there. That's all you see. That's your bubble. That's your world. Then every now and again, you might get a little grounded because maybe one of your clients or somebody you train with did a local meet, and you're the guy that gave that lift off to that cancer patient that's just recovered and broke that 200-pound barrier, right? And then you're like, this is fucking cool. Then you're kind of reminded, this is what it's about. That's that passion, that's that love, that as they start to work up there, I think if they lose sight of that, that passion gets replaced with, I guess, politics. I don't really know what to really say, but you know how it is when you're the federations and all that crap, you're dealing with all this.
2006.
Yeah. So you're dealing with all
and now
this
there's
crap.
A million.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, I've heard what you're saying said in groups that, musical groups that make it, and they forget why they started playing in the first place. They say that. I hear that.
Yeah.
I read it's in songs sometimes even. You know, this is we forgot what we started this for, right? Because we enjoyed the music, and now we don't enjoy it anymore. So that there are ways to perhaps disconnect from our passion, and so we have to be very diligent about protecting our passions and loving what we love, and not letting anything screw with that. You know, protect what you love, protect what your passion is. If you let money get in there, and now you have to do things for money, you can't play the songs you want because you have to play all your hits and nothing but your hits. And you can't just play music. You might lose a little passion there.
Yeah.
Right? And I hear that in music and stuff. So I think you're absolutely dead on with that, and I agree. But I'm talking about, that's true, and that's right, and that's accurate, Dave. But getting back to what I think the point that I was trying to make about valuing passion more than discipline. I'm not saying to disregard discipline, but I'm saying let's see this clearly. Let's try to value our passion and protect it, like you're saying, and take care of it and keep it growing and keep that fire alive. Don't let anything put that fire out, because then if to put the fire out, you obviously don't have passion, right? And that's what you're saying.
Or you gave it away to somebody else.
Perhaps, right? Yeah. So I just want to reiterate the point that I was trying to make about relying too much on discipline discipline is wonderful and good, and it is necessary, right? We have to do the necessary things. But if that's all you have, you might run out of discipline. And if you set a goal that wasn't in line with your passion, if you don't know yourself very well. So here's how you get around not setting a goal that's not in line with your passion. There's an easy fix for that. Know who you are. Know what your passions really are. If you set a goal of 500 and you make it to 405 and quit, was that goal in line with your passions? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people don't know themselves very well to know what their passions are, and they got to find it. And sometimes that's trial and error. But if you know what your passions are, you're going to set goals in line with your passions. And then I think it's important to not only be in line with your passions, but do things that stoke that fire, that feed that fire, that passion. And if it's in line with your real passions, I don't care how far it is, I'm going to bet on you. I think you can make it. I think you can set a world record. I think you can be the CEO. I think you can make it in music. I think that Now again, there's lots of things that happen that we don't have control over, but we at least have the control over trying to understand who we are, trying to feel what our passions are, and then setting goals that are appropriate with that passion, not out of line with that passion. That would, when we get over here, we're like, man, I don't love this anymore. I loved it when I started, but it's taking me over here. But my passion's really here. So I think those are important things that factor into the kind of life that you want to live. And if you want to live a life that's strife-filled and a battle, or a life that is more in line with your passions. And what all this is, David, is another way of saying that I'm a Taoist. You know, Taoism says there's a flow to the universe that you cannot change. And it flows whether you like it or not. And it is what it is. And you can fight that and create turbulence, or you can align yourself with it and then summate your flow with its flow and really go somewhere. And a lot of people, so I'll leave it at that. You know, knowing yourself and then aligning yourself with your own passions, we'll say. Forget that universe Taoism bullshit. Just align yourself with your own Tao, your own passions. And a lot of people have not spent enough time inside themselves to know what their passions are and know who they are. So they pick goals that are unsatisfying. They even attain them and are not happy. They're not satisfied. They don't feel right. They're not in line with their passions necessarily. But someone who's in line with their passions is pretty much out there every day just loving it. Because they're doing what they want to do. They know their passions. They know themselves, and they're doing it. And maybe they're ultra successful, maybe they're not, but they're living the life they want to live. And that's got to be worth a lot.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
It's got to be worth a lot. So we're off topic. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that, but it's not really that off topic. Because if you want to do well in this gym, and you have yourself aligned with what you're doing in here, you're going to have a lot of passion and be able to use that passion. And of course, it's great to have some discipline to put to help you with that.
Is Instagram still the best way for people to find you?
Yeah, it is. JM Blakley on Instagram. I have a YouTube as well. That's capital J, capital M, the numeral 7, and then lowercase THLEVEL. JM 7th level.
We'll have both links in the description here.
Thank you, Dave.
We've been going for like 4 hours. This is crazy. Yeah.
Kidding.
So yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's awesome.
I'm super garrulous and talking.
No, it's great. It's funny, right? Because we actually talked our way through a tornado. You know. And so anybody that was listening, you know, yes, we've had sound issues over the last couple of weeks, but today that was all like rain and wind and all kinds of shit that was going on. So, you know, I thank you guys for staying attuned or on the podcast, listening to the podcast. I thank you again for coming out. This was great.
Yeah,
and anytime you come out, it's awesome.
Can I tell one story before you?
Yeah.
You can trim it later if you want.
No.
I don't know what people know about you and this. This thing that you've created. And I'm going to thank you for having me out here and everything. And I'm going to tell a little story about you. And maybe you've already disclosed this to everybody. Maybe you haven't. It's nothing super personal or anything. It's just that I knew you at Westside. And you started this thing by selling a few pieces of equipment, reverse hyper, in a magazine. Powerlifting USA, and I think you had a quarter-page ad. And your vision for yourself and your own goals and your skill at doing what you do has made that grow. And then I remember when you sold some of my videotapes at free, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I could see that your business was growing. You were selling more and more stuff, and then you're selling wrist wraps, and you're selling this, and you're selling that. And then the ad grew in Powerlifting USA, right? And you grew, and this business grew. And when you had me out here the first time, you mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. I could not believe what you have built for yourself. And I don't think people understand what this is and how big this is and how much of an achievement this is. You have done it. You have this, I see Elite Fitness equipment, and thank you for giving me this cable crossover. The top quality cable is the best piece of equipment I own. I see it all over. I see it in other people's videos. In the background, it's there. I know that guy. I see that symbol, the squat guy, squat man. He's there. And I see people wearing the shirt, and it's everywhere. And I remember when it was barely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all on you. And I don't think people realize how everybody has to start with nothing. I started lifting, light weights and then lifted more. And you started with a small business and made it big. But I don't think people realize how big this is and how impressive this is. So I'm going to relate my story of when I walked in here the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove up, and I thought you owned part of this little area. I came in the front, and it's beautiful. It's well designed. It's well kept and maintained. And it is enormous. It just goes from one thing to another to another. The offices, the warehouses, you took me back. And there was just more and more and more. And every time, I'm like, this is amazing. And then you would show me the next part. And you would show me the next part. And you had, shipping, and then you had this area in reserve for Christmas. And I don't remember all the things we talk about, but I will just say this. I could not be more impressed with what you have done for yourself in this business. I consider you the world champion of that. Other people get a whole group of people helping them, and so we're back to doing it on your own and stuff, and I'm sure you've had some help. But the burden that you have carried to create this, and then you give away these free education, top quality education. Top quality, and you give that away. And I want to just give some people a little glimpse. I just want to say that I'm super impressed by all of it. And I told you this. I can't believe how big and wonderful this is. It's an incredible achievement, and I know that it's because of you. Just like Lou had an incredible achievement because of who he was. This has happened because of who you are. And I don't think people know the scope of it. And then on top of all that, you have lived the motto, you pass on. And you don't charge anybody for any of this stuff. And that's a kindness that you show the world of weightlifting that isn't seen. I don't see it anywhere else. I don't see anybody else giving away free education at this top level. And you are. And so somebody should say something about that. And maybe everybody does. I don't know. But I wanted to say it.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate that, because that's why the company was founded, was to pass on the information. And there has been a lot of people that have helped along the way, so I would be a disservice. But, it's been a journey. That's for certain, but I appreciate you saying that, because I did know you when I was selling, out of a magazine ad and putting together catalogs in my bedroom and stapling them myself and licking the stamps and putting them on mailers and stuff like that. And it's going, way back to where I had a couple plastic shelves in a spare bedroom that held product. Then you make money on that product, hopefully. Then you buy more product, and you kind of float it that way and keep going and reinvesting back in, so it's the biggest thing that when I look back on it all, that if I was to have pride in any of it, is I've always reinvested back into it, so there's no big loan or, anything like that. It was bootstrapped. And it's still bootstrapped. We still got a ways to go. But anyhow, I appreciate it.
It's amazing. And I don't think people understand how amazing it is and how much of that is dependent on who you were and who you chose to be. And I want to thank you for being that person.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For all you guys listening, we're done. When we break this down, You have an explosive day,
Yeah.
which starts with the gah work. And then after that movement, you have the raw work.
Yeah.
And then the puff, puff, puff work. It's part of the horse cocking method.
For
right?
sure. If you have no focus, you have to come to a conclusion at some point. Otherwise, it's a waste of gym time.